Hey, everybody, this is Nathan and Dennis here. We're going to do a quick look at the 2020 SOMIFA draft with the 2020 card set. They keep the names the same, which makes it easy. You don't get confused so much. How you doing, Nathan?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. So let me share my screen here, and we'll put the draft up. What we're going to do is just look real quick at round one, go through each of the teams. Ed's already got the rosters updated, which is fantastic. Ed, thank you. It's going to make it easier for everyone to see what moves they need to make before the supplemental draft. So let me put up my screen here. All right, and we'll make it big. So round one. So this is what, the third draft we've been through, Nathan? Is this your third draft? We had S28
and this one.
Yeah, so it's funny because as I was looking through some of the picks I made in S28, I was comparing them to where they went in SOMIFA, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Somebody else thought that Nasir Adderley was worth a third round pick or whatever, like as I go through the things, and then I was thinking, is that like a circular reference? Am I like, because I picked them high, somebody else said, oh, they went high in S28 drafts, so I'm going to pick them high in SOMIFA. So am I setting my own market, or are these players really good? That's what was going through my head as I looked at this.
Well, I definitely was looking through those drafts for players that I wasn't very familiar with because I really haven't had time to study much at all until maybe this last week or two.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is that when somebody picks somebody high, like I hadn't really looked at Pierre Tart very much, but then the more I started reading about him, the more excited I got about him, and that definitely bumped him up my draft board.
That's what happened with me this last couple of weeks or so with him too.
Yeah, it's like you hadn't heard of maybe some of these guys. You see their name on a depth chart, but that doesn't tell you much. And we know, we all know how shaky those Our Lads depth charts are. Even looking at other ones, without the context behind them, it's hard to tell if that's really what's happening, or that's really what's going to keep happening.
Well, yeah, and even some of these guys are listed as starters, and you see there's like a first or second round pick this year behind them, and you pretty much know what's going to happen there most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Their job's going to get taken at some point. All right. Well, let's take a look. This first round, obviously, Justin Herbert's been the consensus #1 pick. No surprises there. Now, Arizona, who doesn't have a great long-term quarterback situation with Drew Lock and Joe Flacco, I was handling his draft for him. He sent me the list, and I was just a little bit surprised that he had Chase Young second, with no consideration of Joe Burrow. What's your feeling on that? If you were Bob, would you have given a little bit more thought to Burrow?
I think I would have tried to at least trade down, because Herbert's the only one I've liked a lot. Like, I really like him. Like,
right.
That since Mahomes, basically, probably more than anyone. But then Burrow is one of those where I feel like you definitely have to take him if you have any kind of a need there, or entertain any offers to trade down.
Yeah, it's
took a really good player still, so it's not like
Right. Yeah, Chase Young. There's no doubt about how great he is, long-term solution at your defensive end spot. But one thing about Burrow that I thought about, as these drafts were going on, is that he's the kind of player that might be a better strat player than NFL player. And I'll tell you what I mean by that is that his emphasis on high completion percentage and the short passing game is going to produce some really good cards, I think. Whereas maybe he won't be as effective in the NFL.
Strat quarterback. I mean, I could see the Bengals it's hard to want to draft a Bengal that high, but yeah, for me, I would have taken Burrow pretty much every time at #2, or tried to trade down a little bit. And I think that you probably could have. I definitely would have made an offer. If I had more time on my hands, I might have even inquired about it. But I think when I initially looked at the 1-2, I asked Joe at 1, hey, would you consider trading that pick? And he basically was like, no, I'm going to just take a guy. It's like, okay, well, then I didn't even bother trying number 2
Right.
because I figured that's how I was going to go.
Yeah, and Bob's one of the guys that sometimes he'll have his mind made up too. You know, it doesn't matter how good of an offer you make. He just, you know, he's got his path and he's gonna
He
do it.
wants what he wants. Yeah,
Exactly.
there's nothing
So
wrong with it.
yeah, so that let we got Michael joining us. Hey, Michael.
Hey,
So
how you doing? Hey,
good.
Michael,
We're just going through round 1. Just started.
thanks. Hey, Nathan.
how's it going?
All right, buddy.
Glad you could join us. So
Thank you.
that we just talked about Arizona passing on Burrow and taking Chase Young. So that left Minnesota to grab Burrow. Now I didn't even look. Let me see Tony's team. So he already had Kirk Cousins, which you wouldn't think that that's necessarily a position of need, but Cousins is on the last year of his contract, and who knows if Minnesota is going to pursue him or let him walk. So I thought that was a pretty lucky for him to get Burrow at 1-3.
You got to take Burrow no matter what in that situation. I mean, you could trade Cousins for roughly, you know, pretty close to what he's getting, where he's drafting Burrow in the future. I mean, I think you could trade Cousins for no worse than a mid-10th round, you know, mid-first round pick in the next year or so.
Exactly. And I think that's what I would do if I was Tony, unless he was really chasing a championship, is go ahead and flip that chip now while he still has a starting spot in a good position with good talent, and get yourself a future first round pick.
Well, kind of the problem with Cousins is his cards are pretty bad this year, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I don't have Cousins on any of my leagues, but
Ed ranks him like 29th or something like that, so it's pretty low.
Oh yeah, I can see that. But he's still in that range where, you know, the quarterbacks from 30 to 13 are all pretty much, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So it'd be worth throwing it out there to see if he can get a future first.
Oh, he can. I would just wait a year and let him. You know, I think he's a good quarterback still. I might make him an offer next year. Who knows?
Right, that makes sense. Good point.
Then I
So
just
Jefferson
for him away and then for him again.
Right. Nice. Oh yeah, he was originally on your team. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I traded Ron to get him a couple years back and traded him away.
Very cool. Okay, so Justin Jefferson goes next. Not much to say there. Best wide receiver in the draft. Young, heck of a player. Buffalo, I guess we can look at the teams individually after we look at their overall, but he's got that Deshaun Watson card, and you want to make hay while you can because you don't know what's going to happen next year. He might be in the market for a quarterback.
I kind of thought he was going to take Taylor there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking Jefferson. I kind of thought that might be who I get just because receivers tend to slip all the time, and I never want to pass on them when I have the chance to get them. So
that's a good point. Yeah, Taylor would have been a really good fit if you're chasing a ring. But as we'll see later on, he wound up getting James Robinson early in round 2, which is, I guess, a poor man's Taylor. He can do it all. Doesn't have the draft pedigree, but certainly looks like a good player.
Well, it's awfully nice getting your really good running backs in the second round instead of the first round when you can add a for sure player like Jefferson or any of these guys that, you know, went in the top, whatever, 15, 20.
Right. And then Ed took Wirfs, best tackle in the draft. He's even doing commercials now on Thursday Night Football. I saw him have a commercial with Tom Brady or something like that. So he's getting some publicity as a Super Bowl champion and, you know, playing well for Mr. Brady.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah. I think it helps too when you have a quarterback that has a quick release like Brady. You definitely, you know, we've seen that before in New England where he'd take these no-name offensive linemen and they'd be like 5'7s and 4'7s. And
Peyton Manning's offensive lines all those years in Indy, they weren't that great, but they were all 7s, it seemed like.
Right. But Wirfs is the real deal. He'd be a stud no matter who was quarterback. So, okay, so Jonathan Taylor falls to 1-6. right before you, Michael, were you thinking about Taylor at all?
Well, okay. So 1-7 is what I had, and 1-11 is what I got for Kittle. And I already had Gesicki and Goddard. And so, and again, this is not my team. This was Lawrence's team from a couple of years ago, and he's just drafted extremely well. It's a nice club, but when I'll be very honest. I thought last year I had a pretty decent draft. I went defensively and got some nice players. A couple of good defensive ends. Sweat? Who am I trying to think of? The guy from Tennessee.
Jefferson.
Thanks. Darnell Savage and Bush, of course, who was hurt. So I was really pleased with the draft. Actually, what I was planning on drafting here at 7 and 11 was C.J. Henderson and Isaiah Simmons. But when Tua fell, and I'm not really that big a fan of his, to be quite honest with you, but I believe that he's got a good pedigree. And I don't want to just give up on a quarterback who had a mediocre first season. I mean, if this has taught us anything, Josh Allen took him 2 years basically to develop, and now that they've given him time to develop, he's turned into a solid quarterback. Jared Goff had a lousy first season. His second and third seasons were good. Now it looks like he's fallen off a cliff. But with the quarterbacks that I had, which was Goff and Winston and Tua, now there's 3 starters this year. One of those guys is bound to click. Maybe even if it'll be Winston, but to me, the idea of passing on a franchise quarterback, it just didn't make a lot of sense. So I thought, let's just go ahead and pick him up, roll the dice, and worst comes to worst, maybe next year, one of those 3 guys, I'll see some potential in him, and then one of the other guys I can just deal. And so that's why I used the 11th for C.J. Henderson. But my goal was basically to not really build for this year, but just try to build for next year. So, but when that quarterback fell into my lap, I didn't think I had a choice.
So if Taylor, if Chicago had taken Tua instead of Taylor, you're on the clock at 1-7. Your pick would have been C.J. Henderson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I would have had Taylor.
Wow.
Because the Goff is not going to move the needle this year. I don't think that you can win with him, and I don't care if you've got Taylor in the backfield or not. And Nathan, full disclosure here, I had texted Dennis a couple of days before and just noticed that, and again, I'm sorry to say this, but I don't feel like I've been really engaged in this league at all. I haven't really been approached by anybody for trades. I think I've focused so much on Autumn Wind and to a lesser extent Strat 28 that this league has just been like sitting here. And it wasn't until 2 days before the draft that I realized, gosh, I've got a glut of safeties and I've got a glut of tight ends. And maybe I could move some of them and get a little bit of help in this position or that position. But I just don't feel like if a team is ready to compete, I don't believe in drafting a running back. And that's kind of why I decided to get Swift toward the end. I figured he's not ready now. He's not going to win me anything now. But I really like the tape that I've seen from him. I really like that combine score that I saw from him too. He looks like a gem, and as long as he can stay healthy, that's going to be the real question. But that's the question with any running back. But that's why, like, for example, in Autumn Wind, when Dobbins slips to 24, I don't care to get a 1-year rental. With the idea of pairing him up with Mahomes, that sounds pretty nice.
Right.
But in a case like this, I figure I'm still building. And so that's why my goal would have been C.J. Henderson and to get Salmons. And then next year, if I'm ready to compete, I'll just grab a running back at that point. But
yeah, I think Ed mentioned something like that too, that at his pick, he wasn't even thinking about Taylor because investing in a running back, we see the turnover at that position and these guys that come out of nowhere or, aren't drafted and they suddenly have an impact. So I get that. I totally get that. So, just real quick on Taylor, though, he goes to Brad's team right before your pick. He's got Matt Ryan to pair him with. A.J. Brown, he picked up Quentin Cephas later on. So that pick there made a lot of sense for him, I think, even if it didn't make sense for you at the time.
Right. And I agree with what Nathan said about that wide receiver, too. And that's not to take any away from Jefferson. He does have a high pedigree. I don't take wide receivers really early. I found luck finding good ones late first, early second. because he's right. There just seems to be there's only a few that can maintain that sort of elite sort of consistency. That's not to say that Jefferson's going to slip off a cliff here or anything, but
They're also really hard to trade. So
yes,
it's
agreed.
like once you have one, you almost never want to draft another one. Like I had Metcalf.
That's
I
true.
would have taken Jefferson if it rolled that way, but I didn't really want to have him.
It never seems you can get value for him. I agree. That's 100% correct. So we'll see. Miami still has this man crush on Deshaun Watson. At least I keep hearing about it. But hopefully they'll do with him what Buffalo did and for Allen, and just give him some time to develop. Because I mean, his PFF scores in college, fantastic. We're seeing what Matt Jones was able to do here with New England, and I think that Tagovailoa has a better arm. Let's just hope he's a better decision maker. He doesn't have a lot of weapons in Miami. So I don't know. I just felt like, you know what? What's the chances of getting a franchise quarterback next year? This team isn't going to be bad enough to finish in the top 3 or 4. I guess I could try to package a whole bunch of stuff together if I see something, but it's just really difficult to trade up to 1 or 2 unless you've got a lot of talent to give away. And so I said, I'll just roll the dice and see what this guy's like.
I definitely can't blame you for taking him because I would have taken him, but I was hoping you would take him, if that makes sense. Like,
no, I get it.
I've kind of felt the same way. I don't love him enough that I would ever make a move to go get him.
Mm-hmm.
He was falling to me. I'd almost have to take him.
Yeah.
Between him and Taylor, I think I'd take Taylor. I know you can win in strat with running backs, and I'd say great running backs and solid quarterbacks is almost a better recipe than great quarterbacks and mediocre running backs.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, thanks. I appreciate you saying that. I agree. I just felt like there's no way you can let something like that go. But we've seen it before. People draft Josh Rosen, and a year later you get Kyler Murray. If I screwed up on a number 1, I screwed up on a number 1. We'll just try to go get somebody next year. We'll make a trade for somebody. But anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, you do have those, but you also have times where, like, Lamar Jackson went in round 2 or the end of round 1 in a lot of drafts after his rookie season, and then he made that jump.
Right.
Josh Allen went a little lower.
It's just hard with those guys. I'd rather draft Tua than how I felt about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree.
So it does go both ways. I mean, you can reel off the number of first-round quarterbacks that have failed, but when you get one and he works out as a consistent starter for you in a strat league, they're worth their weight in gold. So I think it was a good move.
Tua's going to be in a good position.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys don't have that are high picks.
It's kind of weird though to have like 3 starters on my team. I don't know that Goff is finished. I mean, maybe he does have a halfway decent year in Detroit, and obviously Winston's going to get plenty of chances here. New Orleans, you have to think that one of those 3 guys are going to click next year, and if it's 2, then maybe I get fortunate and I can trade him for somebody. But thanks, I appreciate it. I just felt like like I said, my goal was Sammons and Henderson. And just to continue to build on defense. It's a good young club on that other side of the ball, but you can't pass on to him. So we just bought a lottery ticket.
Sounds good. So that takes us to Nathan's pick of Antonio Gibson. So talk to us about who you were considering at 1-8, and if Gibson was your guy no matter what.
I kind of thought that it might be him. I actually thought it might be Jefferson just because the receivers tend to fall, and I wouldn't pass them up. I didn't need a tackle really, so if Wirfs got there, I would have taken him. But then Gibson was literally as my 8th person on my list. Didn't really have anyone. Raekwon Davis a little bit because I like the 3-4. I want to get back to it. With my linebacker shift, I got to get some more pass rushers and everything, but I prefer the 3-4. And I just figured the nose tackle, it kind of seems like they're getting cheaper and cheaper to trade for.
Right.
So I almost would rather just take the guy that's going to have the biggest impact. I think that's Gibson. I think he's going to have a really big year. And I like that he was a receiver in college. I know he didn't have a great card for receiving, but, he's got the ability. And I really like that from the running back spot because they can't double you so much if you ever do get yourself a real good passing offense going,
Yeah, then you went back in round 2 and grabbed Dobbins, who slipped all the way down to the second round in this draft. We're kind of jumping ahead here, but did you expect to have Dobbins on the board at 214?
I didn't really think so. If I was picking more like 2-2 or 2-3, I thought he might be there. Just because that card is so nasty and he's a good player, so it's like, even someone that he checks a lot of boxes. Anyone that he's on a great team for running. He's a good player. He was drafted highly. He's got a great card, so hopefully he keeps. And it seems like all those Baltimore guys, Gus Edwards and him, are getting those types of cards. There's no reason not to expect more of them. He got injured early enough in the year that he should be fully recovered by the next go around. I kind of thought he'd be gone by that point. I totally understand why people don't want to take a guy that, is just a card for the year and then injured and then who knows what. But I'm a little surprised he slipped quite that far.
Yeah. No, I definitely considered him at my spot in the back of round 1, but we'll get to that later on. But
part of it might be what Michael was talking about, not a whole lot of activity. If a lot of people aren't really making moves, really going for it like what we saw in SSFA, that was crazy. Everyone was going for it. I mean, that dude would have never made it that far, even with the injury.
No way. Right.
Yeah, so a lot of people willing to sit home, make their picks at their spots, and looking more long-term than for the instant impact. So that put the Chargers on the clock. The Chargers picked Patrick Queen. We know that TJ likes to get defensive players. He's got Tom Brady and Josh Jacobs on offense, so he wanted to get that linebacker that can turn into a 5'6", 5'5", 5'4" type of guy. Right now, as linebackers, he only had a lot of 4s, so that looks like it's going to be a good move for him.
Linebackers are rough these days to get, so
yeah,
you get a good one.
It's funny though. I wonder if it'll be a cyclical thing because this year seemed to really cut deep on the linebackers. The strat didn't give hardly any outside linebackers 5s or 6s. So we've seen sometimes where that bounces back and you get some guys that surprise you with the higher ratings. But for this set, it's sparse. That's for sure.
It fluctuates for sure.
Yep. And then the next pick was Paul's. He took Antoine Winfield Jr., who's a safety I really liked. Any thoughts on him, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of really good things about him. He seems like a good player. I haven't focused on him too much because I really liked Julian Blackman, and it seems like he's a lot cheaper. So that's kind of been. I mean, I can't fault him for taking the best safety in the class,
Yeah, 10th round pick in the NFL. He has the high profile. Oh, I'm sorry. He was the 2nd round pick in the NFL, 10th round pick in SOMIFA. But he had that high profile beyond the Super Bowl champion and making plays on that Thursday night, which sometimes can boost guys up. So not surprised to see him go there. And then Michael, you came back with CJ Henderson. Were you happy that somebody didn't take him off the board in between you picking Tua and then selecting him at 111? Sounds like Michael's not there.
I think see his picture. I don't know if he's backstage again.
I see him here. It's all right. So, but we talked a little bit about him. I think Isaiah Simmons was a guy that Michael had told me he was considering.
I was considering him there. Sorry, I had my headphones on; they weren't working. I figured CJ would be from like 10 to 14, but like I said, I liked his draft day numbers. I like the fact that he seems to be getting along with people in Jacksonville now, but I also know too that for whatever reason, Jacksonville just keeps unloading talent. So if he does find his way to another place, the talent is going to be there. But I also like the fact that Jacksonville seems to be building a team that is committed to rushing the passer. They've made a lot of draft choices here that seem to indicate that. And when you've got a team that can put heat on the quarterback. It makes defending a little bit easier. So I think he was the best of the corners, and that's just, again, he's not going to see the field for me this year, but I felt like if I'm going to get a corner, because I don't think that Levi Wallace is really cutting it. He barely won in training camp this year. I don't think he's going to be a long-term fit at corner, so I figured if I'm going to try to get the most elite, in my opinion, corner in this draft, and so that's why I picked him up. But I do like Isaiah Simmons too, but if I had a choice between the two, which one's going to be better and have more of an impact in Strat, it's going to be C.J. Henderson.
Nice. So then Zeb came back around and took Isaiah Simmons. I think he was kind of the consensus top linebacker in some, I guess not consensus, but because obviously Patrick Queen went before him. But I think if I had a choice among linebackers, I would have picked Simmons as the top guy. Nathan, what do you think?
I was a little scared of him, and I didn't really plan on drafting him unless he got in the second round, just because I don't know what to expect. Like, don't they play him all over the place?
They do.
That
guy could wind up being a strong safety eventually.
I'm like scared they're going to screw him like Buda Baker for years. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I thought too, Nathan. You don't know where he's going to be.
And I've seen guys that were good players, like as far back as like Adam Archuleta, playing like safety linebacker, you know, and it seems like, yeah, they'll get a couple good ratings at one position, but like they never really, you know, get it's like it doesn't work for Strat, you know, with how they got to rate them.
Right.
So I just, if I don't know, I'm not going to take a guy that high.
Right.
I just don't feel comfortable doing it.
Right.
But
Well,
I mean, the guy looks like a great player. So
right.
it's kind of like if I'm talking about drafting one of these fantastic running backs that has just a suck ass card, it's like, well, yeah, he's like the best or second best running back in football, but his card is like totally unimpressive. Like, who would you rather have for their whole career so far? Ezekiel Elliott or Gus Edwards? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
It's just kind of ridiculous sometimes, but that's just how I got to look at it.
Yeah.
Right. Edwards keeps getting the premium cards, and Ezekiel just doesn't.
He's had like three cards that are better than anything Zeke will ever get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And that was the way it was with Le'Veon Bell a lot of years too.
Le'Veon Bell was horrible for how good he was.
Yeah, exactly. His cards were horrible for how good he was in the NFL.
But Nathan has a good point, and I think it has a lot to do with the team that he plays for. And what makes these gangbuster cards so gangbuster is the fact that they're playing on run-dominant teams, and so Strat is begging other coaches for them to call run. Because, I mean, I don't know what Gus's card looks like, but Dobbins' card, I've looked at it, believe me, and it's really, really bad.
Well, you look at that style, and you look at Damian Harris's card, and that looks like a Baltimore running back.
Right.
And a Baltimore offense.
But we're playing Strat the way they don't want us to play Strat, and that is with draft cards. So we get the opportunity to pair a crazy card, you, Gus Edwards, me, Dobbins, with me, Mahomes. Who in the world is going to guess run on my team? It's going to be murder. So you want to have a chance to pair something like that together. But I agree with you. It lessens the value of Zeke, who's a great player, but we'll never see a gangbuster card like that on him, and it's sad. But we do get the chance to pair players like that. So anyway, I agree with what Nathan's saying there. It just doesn't help some of these really, really good running backs out. I don't know if we'll ever see that kind of card for them. I mean, like the rest of these rookie running backs, with the exception of Damian Harris, like Akers' card, it's not great at all. I mean, Swift's card, not that it deserved to be great. It really wasn't that great. Robinson's card is actually pretty good, but never to the level of what we're seeing for Baltimore.
Yeah,
well,
to me,
the stud that they do him justice right off the bat, because then why not rate him at multiple positions really good? Just do it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see. They've made a little bit of a change in how they do those safety linebacker guys, so maybe that'll pay off for Isaiah Simmons down the road. Maybe. They're hard on rookies. So moving on to Mekhi Becton at 13. Detroit picked up Mount Becton. I heard he's got some pass protection issues in some of the reading I've been doing this summer, but he still seems like a heck of a player, and he's also had some injury problems. So I think that's why maybe he slipped in some people's eyes. You know, but I think he's still like one of. I would want him to be like he's 2 or 3 in the tackles available in the draft.
Oh,
You either like
you have him. I read, or I saw that Tom had mentioned what you were saying there. I know he's had a little injuries and things. I hadn't really heard anything about pass protection, but I haven't been as into the studying this year. I just haven't had time.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to happen with a rookie quarterback. You know, is he going to have that quick release? Is he going to run into sacks? Is he going to hold the ball too long? So you might have a couple years where he's a 5'3" or a 5'4" until they get an offense that works well. You know, or the fact that maybe Zach Wilson's just really talented, and right away he keeps that 5'5", 5'7". So, all right, then we had.
I think that was a good pick there.
Yeah, I do too. Really solid. Although, you know, Wills or Becton, I don't think you can go wrong with either one.
Oh yeah, Wills is a stud too.
So Raekwon Davis, I think that was a trade up for Denver, I believe, if I remember correctly. So Tony grabbed the only 5 nose tackle in the draft to pair along with 2 really good defensive ends in Cameron Jordan and Quinnen Williams. So that solidifies his defensive line. And the rest of his defense has 3 other 6s and another 5, and I don't see any 0s out there. So that really is going to help Tony stop the ball as he puts together, you know, what looks like a playoff team to me. We'll leave that to the season preview show, but he's got some decent talent if he can get good quarterback play.
And he only had to give up a 6 to move up those 4 spots to get a really good player.
Yeah, I was thinking like, man, maybe I should be moving up. Because if that's the cost, I only have to give up a 5th or a 6th. I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Well, in Ron's case, if he was eyeing Michael Walker, I mean, you know, that's if you think he'll be there anyway, then why not get yourself something extra?
Yeah, totally get that. That's why I don't like to stick to that draft chart. The draft chart would have said that's a ripoff.
It's worthless unless
it totally is.
In a vacuum, it's good, but you know.
Yeah, there's some people who really just stick by it, like to the letter, or maybe when they're the ones getting the advantage, they stick to it. But I don't really pay too much attention. Somebody should make a Stratomatic draft trade chart, because that would be, I think, a little bit more insightful.
That's the thing, though, is like, what do you do, you know, when the first pick is like Larry Warford and then the first pick is Patrick Mahomes? They're both worth 3,000 points.
Yeah, you need to have it
like 12,000 points, and Larry Warford's worth like 1,000 or something. You know?
Right. You need to adjust it. You need to adjust it for sure. I think Tim was saying that too. Each draft class, it should be different. So, all right. So the next pick, Indy grabbed Clyde Edwards-Helaire. What do you guys think about CEH? You know, he was a fantasy darling at the beginning of last year, and that never really panned out. Where did you have him on your running back rankings?
I had him at like, for running backs. Let's see here. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I had him quite a bit lower than where he went. I had him behind some other guys, but I did literally see, like today, them talking about how he had a lot of gallbladder issues last year, and he was throwing up every day or something, and couldn't figure out if he had COVID or what was going on. And so they think that they had to have his gallbladder removed, and they seem optimistic that he's going to get back onto that sort of pace that he was on early in the year. As a rookie, kind of tailed off pretty hard, you know, too. Sometimes maybe it's just being a rookie. They don't, you know, some guys come on strong at the end because they haven't been going at it the whole time. And maybe some guys just kind of need to build up their endurance, you know?
Yeah, and I think that he fits well on Jeff's team. He's got Josh Allen as a quarterback, Chris Carson, who's limited carries, and now he can pair him with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and David Johnson. That should give him plenty of weapons on offense.
Well, he's a good receiver, too. I mean, I know the Rams really wanted to draft him, but they had traded their first-round pick. Otherwise, they would have taken him the year the Chiefs took him. So if Sean McVay and Andy Reid both really want to draft the guy, that's probably a good sign too.
Right. I agree. Agreed. And then, yeah, and he will be a good receiver in that offense. Sometimes guys are a good receiver, then they go to an offense where they just don't throw the ball to the halfbacks, but they definitely will in Kansas City. So, all right. So then Tom takes the other tackle that was part of my top 3 group in Jedrick Wills. Thoughts on Mr. Wills?
He looks really solid. I mean,
Yeah, I think
you don't have any real concerns at all, I don't think, with him. And he was going behind the other 2 in all the drafts, I think. So nice value
So
for the quality.
if on PFF, I was surprised that he only got a 4.4 because I think his pass protection numbers seem to indicate that he could have been maybe a 5.
I'm here.
speak of the devil.
Uh-oh.
Hablando,
There he is.
as they say in Spanish, hablando el
What's that?
rey de Roma. Así se asoma. So talk to us, Tom. We're at your pick in the first round, Jedrick Wills.
It was a good pick.
Consensus. Everybody agrees. Great pick.
So no, I'm just coming on. So let me bring up the draft a minute here.
Yeah, I think you
Hello,
talked a little bit. Yeah, you talked a little bit on the forum. Say it again.
Go ahead, Dennis.
I was saying you mentioned on your draft review on the forum that you were happy to get either Wills and your next choice would have been Becton. So what made you move Wills ahead of Becton?
Like I said in the write-up, which is pretty lengthy, so maybe you haven't read it, especially since we're getting ready to do the show, and it just came on I think that write-up just went up an hour and a half ago, whatever. But starting a few years ago, I just started doing a lot of reading the local papers and stuff, which is what you're supposed to do. You Google and you get good information there. And just all the accounts for Jedrick Wills all summer and through the preseason were just glowing. The guy is improving, and he's looking rock solid, and blah 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 blah. Not that he was bad as a rookie, they thought, but there were rookie warts. And look, I love Mekhi Becton. As a Jet fan last year, I was so happy when we drafted him. He played great as a rookie. And, when the season ended, December, January, whatever, if you would have said to me, hey, Tom, who are you going to take as a tackle, Becton or Jedrick Wills? I would tell Becton any day of the week. Give me Matt Becton. I love Becton. I'm really rooting for him, okay? But, he had nagging injuries as a rookie. He's got nagging injuries again this year. He's been having some problems with the new offense, which requires more mobility from the line, which is weird to me because he seems very, very nimble last year when he was out in space. He's been having some problems with pass blocking in camp. And even Carl Lawson was eating eating his lunch, whatever it was, whatever he was doing wasn't good. He was having no trouble with him. But then even when they got to preseason games where they played against a different team, he was having some problems. Now those could be injury related. He might have a nagging injury. That's why. Because last year he was great at with the pass blocking. I just felt like at this point in time, we're drafting on, here in early September 2021. Right now, this moment, this week, Wills looks more solid than Becton. Now, 4 months from now, there might be a different story. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe Becton's going to play this year with a nagging injury. Then after that, he'll be a 6'7" All-Pro every year and on his way to the Hall of Fame. But we got to make the decision right now. So I just felt like Wills has really no questions to him at all. And it's maybe Becton's got more upside. It was what's Wills' downside? A 5'7"? You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's so safe, and I really want the good tackles. And for some of those reasons, I had him ahead of Becton. I had him considerably back up. To be honest, he was my number one tackle. With Tristan Wirfs playing the right side. Again, I don't care. My team's not going anywhere this year. McCaffrey was out. Fitzpatrick can't go deeply this year and throw his picks. My defense fell apart. So my team's going to lose 10+ games. I'm not going to. So I could care less what the rating is for the year. So Wills is actually number one tackle on the board ahead of Tristan Wirfs because Wirfs plays the right side, right? And we know it's harder to get 6s and harder to get 7s on the right side. That's changing some, I think, as the NFL is valuing the right tackle position more, as you see with, Ryan Ramczyk and Jack Conklin. And who's the guys? Brian O'Neill got a nice contract from the Vikings. and stuff like that. So it's changing. But how long is Brady going to play? Is Wirfs always going to be on the right side? And is Wirfs going to get sevens after Brady retires or if Brady gets hurt or whatever, So I don't have anything against Tristan Wirfs, but for me, long-term, Wills was the number one tackle that I wanted.
Perfect. And I already kind of touched on some of those points, but I just wanted to get you into this, wanted to get you going. So I'm glad you could talk about your selection there. All right, so let's go on to Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee, they picked up Damian Harris. They had their choice of, they could have gone with Dobbins. They could have gone with Swift. They could have gone with, he's a Detroit guy, so Swift was probably in his thinking. But he went with Damian Harris, and I think he talked about on his draft review that even though New England doesn't really have a number one back some of the time, that card was just too good, and he looks a little bit better, maybe a little bit touch above the type of backs they've had in the past where they've been in a job share. What do you guys think about Damian Harris?
Well, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead, Nathan or Michael.
I was going to say I hadn't done a lot of studying, but he was one that he's the kind of guy where if I'm in a go for it type of mode, I would love that card, and I would totally not feel bad trading like a future first to get into the early part of the second and draft him, or drafting at the end of the first round. He looks pretty good. He seems like a really good guy. It's just that I don't know that he's going to keep pumping out those kind of cards now that New England's probably in more of a traditional offense.
And as Mick said in his write-up, he's not really going for it this year. He had to he put off rebuilding for a year. So
it almost works against him too, having that good of a card.
Right, that's true too.
Yeah, last thing you want to do. I mean, if he did truly go nuclear, and I haven't looked at the rosters this year like I normally would. I'm not as up on things at all as I normally am. But if he has blown up the roster and gone nuclear, I'm going to draft a guy that. What if he helps you win a couple of games? Now you don't get Trevor Lawrence. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if the team is that bad, I mean, you should try to win every game anyway. And I always have, as you know, Dennis. But.
Sure.
I like Damian. I like Damian Harris a lot. I think he's real good. One thing I worry about is that those New England lead backs, they never catch the ball. It's like they're so it's so crazy. It's like they've got the guy who runs, like Sony Michel or now Damian Harris, then the guy who catches, who's usually James White or who I don't know if he's still up there, or if it's not him, it'll be someone else. So it's like, okay, I know the guy's not going to catch really, okay, but you like to have the halfback who can catch some, and they got one, of course, with Antonio Gibson, but I like Damian Harris a lot. I have no problem where he went. I just don't know if I'm a team that's not going for the year at all, if I actually take him as my running back. Now you got to figure if he blew up the whole team, right? It's probably not going to be good next year either, right? So you're probably looking at a 2 years of badness. The Hugh Jackson era, the Hugh Jackson phase, or what do you call it? What do you call it, Nathan? The Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson.
Yep.
Hugh Jackson cycle. That's right. So if I'm in a Hugh Jackson cycle, I mean, J.K. Dobbins. Now, Michael, I didn't really talk to you much about after your draft. I didn't message you during the draft. These other guys who messaged you and talking about the autumn wind draft. I loved it. I liked the J.K. Dobbins pick for you a lot as well, Michael, in autumn wind. I like Nathan got him here. I like J.K. Dobbins a lot. I have nothing against Damian Harris. I like Damian Harris as a player. I'm just saying, if you could give me a career between J.K. Dobbins and Damian Harris, I'd probably take J.K. Dobbins. So if I'm not going anywhere this year anyway, and of course Dobbins is a good career also. And then if I'm in a Hugh Jackson cycle, so I'm not probably going anywhere next year anyway, I'm like, well, maybe I'll take Dobbins or I'll take someone else. I don't know what Nick had. Nick had the second round, but I like that. Look, I like Damian Harris a lot. Getting him 17 is fine. I don't want that at all. He's really good. I like him a lot. Nothing wrong with the pick. Just saying, since you're saying he's not going for the year, I don't think I don't think that card. It's not like you're giving him like a Minnesota Vikings Adrian Peterson card. I don't think the card's going to help him win too many games if his team is really awful.
Well, the other thing too is the carries are limited. He's got 137 carries, so he'll be like a 14, 15 carry back, and he doesn't have very much else besides that. So,
well, the only thing,
but he's an excellent player and I like him. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I like Harris, but I just think the only two things I don't necessarily like about for his team, I think, is pretty much what you're saying, is part of it is the running back shelf life. We all know that that's a lot of the reason that a lot of people pass on them
Right.
early. And so by the time your team's starting to come around, you might not even really get out of him what you're hoping to get. And then the other thing for me a little bit is I feel like their offense is changing, and those cards are going to take a ding even if he's producing really well, just because they're not going to have him to run every time like Baltimore does. At least when you take a Baltimore back, you know Lamar Jackson's probably going to be there the whole time.
Right.
Well, it's funny you say it because I feel like with Mac Jones there as a rookie quarterback, I think that the Patriots are going to run the ball up. But maybe what you're saying is that if Nick has a Hugh Jackson cycle, maybe by the time he's ready to win, then Mac Jones is playing more like a regular quarterback and doesn't have to be protected as much as his third year in the NFL or whatever. If Mac Jones becomes at least pretty good,
the percentage of the times you run, because with Cam you run more. Even though I do agree with you, I do agree they're going to run a lot. I just think they're not going to run as much as they did. So
yeah,
bound to bring down the card a little bit.
Fair enough. And I think that Baltimore's a unique situation. Lamar Jackson's running style is going to always boost those Baltimore backs with the read option. But yeah,
I know you guys already did the first round. I wanted to say I wanted to comment on his Antonio Gibson selection. I like Antonio Gibson a lot. Actually, I thought I liked him more than most people did. I think I had a good eye for running backs. He was my number 2 running back on my board because of Dobbins' injury. Okay, but I was still surprised to see him go number 8 overall. Do you feel like that's high for him, Nathan, or you're like, I like this guy so much
I would have definitely liked
that 8 is good.
I would have definitely liked to pick him a little later, but this did not seem like the type of draft people wanted to trade back or trade up. I mean, into that area.
No, not at all.
People were trying to get out of 5, talking about trading out of 3. I mean, it just, and I was also extremely busy, not very active on the trade market anyway until late. So
you're the one who
in like, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, something like that. But I had him pretty high on the list.
Yeah, no, I think he's real good. I'm interested to see what he'll do this year. What did you guys think about? It was a pick right before mine, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I know is a very good player in the NFL, but you're taking a guy 15 overall, doesn't really have a great card. I would say I'm looking at it, it's not bad. For this set, this is a terrible running back set. It seems to me, but a guy who he's in Patrick Mahomes' offense. He's in Patrick Mahomes' offense. Patrick Mahomes is going to always have an awesome card, and with Andy Reid, they usually throw the ball a ton. So I mean, this guy, he has to have almost 1,400 yards, like a 5.6 average, to maybe get a good card or something. What do you guys think about that?
Well, we talked a little bit about it.
For you.
Yeah, I mean the fact that go ahead, Nathan.
I think it's still better to be in a good offense if you can be. I mean, Edgerrin James had a lot of good cards with Manning, and then they all went to hell when he went to Arizona.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to catch the ball. He is already known for that a little bit, even though his card's not that great for that either. But you got to think that he's going to be worked into the offense, and I don't necessarily think I would have gone a different direction, but he needed some carries. He also has Chris Carson as his number 1 back, and he's another guy that's limited with 14 carries or so a game.
Yeah, well, that Edwards-Helaire is going to be the number 1 guy there. He was a first-round pick. He's a very good player, so I'm not knocking him. I just feel like from the strat standpoint, I would be concerned about the impact of Mahomes and the rest of the offense on his card. And you mentioned Edgerrin James. I don't know. A lot of his rushing cards weren't that great. I thought for that era particularly, he wasn't giving you Jamal Charles or Adrian Peterson or that type of stuff. But he wasn't bad, certainly. I don't know. Maybe I expect too much out of a good card from that era. And nowadays, we're in a different era. It's hard to get – on this set, it's hard to get good rushing cards, it seems like. And the NFL's going away from it even more.
Yep. I think I agree with that. I think it's the strat paradigm, how to get this game, which was built on the old pro set to resemble modern.
50-50. I'm going to mute my mic for a couple minutes.
Okay, so let's go on to Pittsburgh 6. somebody has got an echo on. I'm gonna. Where am I hearing that from?
I don't hear it.
Hold on. Okay, so I'll just continue on pretend like it's not. Hold on, let me. Okay, how now?
I don't hear anything.
That's so weird.
I mean, I
I'm
don't
hearing
hear
myself.
you.
Let me test. But anyway, we'll move forward. So Michael Walker, talk about him real quick, Mike. Nathan, while I leave the room and come back in.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a great rating. I know someone in S28 took him really high. I can't remember who it was, but they liked what Glenn had to say. I wasn't. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't want to take him necessarily in the first round. I guess if you have a competitive enough team, it might be worth it, but I just don't know.
Have you heard about him, whether he's actually going to start this year? Because there's another guy with starting.
I have no idea. I don't. I mean, the guy, he hardly really even played last year, so you know, it's kind of weird that he's a coverage guy, but he's not on the field very much. You know,
right?
Usually, it's the run guys that happens to.
Yeah, I thought it's one of those things, especially if it's not a double counting league. Oh, I thought you wanted me. Yeah, I can hear you now. I thought you wanted me to mute you. You were going to.
I said I'm muting myself. I muted myself. Every time I tried to unmute and talk, you muted me again.
Oh, I thought you were talking to somebody else in your room or something. So you kept saying.
It's like Tom, pipe that.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to hear your. I didn't want the whole room to hear you telling your attendant to do something. So go ahead.
Did you mute him again?
The whole world hearing me tell her to get me some cookies. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a backup. Well, Atlanta's moving to a 3-4 this year, and they've got to move to the inside behind Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun, I believe, Dennis. That's what I was reading. And they got some weird guys on the outside, Stephen Means and a guy I think you drafted, Dennis. I don't even know if that's his name. Is it Jacob Tolodi Mariner?
Yeah,
something like that.
That's it.
But anyway, I'm pretty sure he's a backup. Yeah. So I think Ron probably has a good team because he's got Aaron Rodgers, and he's
got a great team.
Ron's a real good coach.
Yeah.
If you got a great team, and you can put a six against the pass and the outside linebacker, then I don't have a problem with the pick. Really, it's a bit of a premium. But and who knows? I don't know. It's weird to these guys who come from nowhere and get this good rating. I mean, I know Glenn explained it a little bit, but I mean, really, Strat should not be giving it. They should not be giving a guy like Michael Walker a 6 against the pass, and then say it's okay because he got a 0 against the run. Glenn, I disagree with him there, because when you play with the modern game with the white die 6, that 6 linebacker is so important, and then even they want you to play. Flat passes run or whatever. It's like that six linebacker is so important, so impactful. You're gonna give it to Michael Walker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, but I shouldn't say his team is great. His offense is great. With Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks in the set. Gus Edwards is one of the best running backs in the set. And we talked a little bit about Ezekiel Elliott. I think his card in this set is more effective than past cards where he's had better statistics.
Yeah, he's gonna fumble a lot though, probably.
And he's got Will Fuller, who has a premium card at receiver. So, he's going to be able to put some hurt on some guys. And he needed Walker, like you were saying. His outside linebackers, he had none. He had a couple of inside linebackers in Perryman and Adrian Phillips, but he needed that outside linebacker. Now he's got a 6 on the outside, a 5 in the middle, and then if he's going to run a 3-4, another 4. He just needs to figure out the other outside linebacker spot, which right now is manned by Jadeveon Clowney.
Well, he also traded back and got, even though it wasn't a big return. I mean, if he knows that that's who he wants, it makes total sense to move back and get something.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's go on to the next pick. The Rams picked up Jerry Jeudy, which is the second wide receiver off the
I was
board.
going to say, Dennis.
What? Continue.
I was going to say, Dennis. I've criticized Michael Reeves in the past for chewing potato chips or sandwiches during broadcasts. I'm getting ready to have a cookie, so I guess I better mute my microphone, I suppose.
Okay. So Jerry Jeudy, the second receiver off the board. Everybody is, the consensus is Justin Jefferson number one. After that, there's like 3 or 4 guys that could go as the second receiver, and Wayne decided to go with Jeudy. So what do you think about that, Nathan?
I like CeeDee Lamb more, but I do like Jeudy. I mean, I just you kind of get an idea, especially after a couple of drafts, and there's been a lot more positive things I think said about Lamb in the media. And then, like you were talking about earlier, he looked pretty good. I mean, he actually dropped a couple passes, but he looked explosive, which is what I think people like about Jeudy, which is what I like about Jeudy. But it's hard to beat being on Dallas's offense compared to Denver's offense, in my opinion. And the fact that Lamb is also a punt returner is icing on the cake,
Yeah,
So,
I think that Judy's card.
Over Jeudy.
Yeah.
But
Judy's card this year is more impactful with the yards.
I didn't even think about that, to be honest.
So that's the only thing that I could see why to pick him over Jeudy or over Lamb. But I picked Lamb, so I'm biased. Jeudy was the 15th.
I had like everyone. I had Jefferson number one. I had Lamb clearly as my number 2 receiver, and I don't have a problem with Jeudy. I'm in general. I mean, as a player, I'm not anti-Jeudy, but I definitely went against the grain here. I had Brandon Ayuk as my 3rd receiver. I really like Brandon Ayuk a lot.
And where did you have Chase Claypool? Because Wayne circled back in round 2 and picked Claypool up, which I thought was a great pick.
Miss Claypool. That's from the Marx Brothers. I had Claypool number 7. I had Claypool number 7. I like Claypool. I had him number 7, and I like where he got him. Judy might be really, really, really good. I really like Brandon Ayuk a lot. I probably like him a lot more than most people. And I had Ayuk 3rd and Judy 4th. And I probably would have. Well, again, I mean, Wayne's not a guy. Nothing wrong with Judy, and Judy might be really good. Wayne's not a guy who's usually going to trade down or trade up a lot. But probably if I could have there, I would have liked to trade down, because you would think that a guy like, well, I didn't like Ayuk as much, but a guy like Ayuk or whatever maybe is going to go a little later, so we can trade down for something. But also, Wayne said, look, I haven't had any good receivers. I read his write up. I haven't had good receivers forever in this team. I'm probably the worst receivers in the league. Now I got Jeudy and Claypool. Bang. I mean, that's pretty good. And Jeudy should be at least pretty good. I'm not knocking Jeudy. I'm not anti-Jeudy. I'm pretty picky with my receivers. I just really like Brandon Ayuk a lot. I think he's very exciting, man. I watched his highlights.
Let's get your top 10. Let's give the people a little juice here. Who's your number 5 receiver?
All right. Now, first of all, let me say that my rankings were not. All right. Let me say this. I did a fair amount of video work on most of the positions, okay? But I don't feel like I did quite as much as I usually do. Although I will say I feel pretty good about my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably my top 5 receivers in terms of how I have them. And then sometimes, like, I'll rank the guys, like, they'll be ranked like 6 or 7, but like the guy who's 6, it's like I know everyone else has him ahead of the other guy. So I might put him there, even though I know that myself, I'm not going to draft him ahead of the other guy. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
All right, so I got for example, like with the running backs, like I had no interest in James Robinson. I buried him. I had no interest in James Robinson. I buried him, but he's still on my big board somewhere. Where it's like I just wasn't even going to draft him, but he's still on my big board somewhere. Even though I know that I'm not drafting him. So, but anyway,
what the actual picture is going to look like at certain picks, and he's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Like for example, Nathan, you know that if a guy's a young safety 5, he's not like he's going to slip to the 4th round, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I had Justin Jefferson number 1. I had CeeDee Lamb number 2 as a clear number 2. I had Brandon Ayuk 3rd. I really liked him a lot, and I love the idea that Ayuk was a guy that you're probably going to get like late second round or something like that, which is where he went to Tony. That's like, cool, I'm getting this guy at like number, mid to late second round instead of first round. I'm much more comfortable drafting a receiver in the second round. I'm out drafting receiver anywhere, as you know, but I prefer, if I can, if there's a guy I really like and he's gonna be there in the second round, I prefer that to drafting in the first round. Changing some of my stuff, Nathan, from what I used to do. At Judy fourth, I like Judy a lot. I like Judy. I don't know, just something slightly missing from him for me to feel like he's going to be that true stud. The true stud. I don't know, but I'm pretty picky about receivers. I really split hairs. And number 5, I was really. Then I had a big drop off. After those 4, there was a big drop off to me. Okay. At number 5, I had a guy. I'm not sure I would have taken him 5th, but he was a guy that I really wanted. If he would have been there at the right spot. Okay. And he's totally boomer bust, and that's Henry Ruggs. Totally boomer bust. But I really I'm moving away from some of the types of receivers I used to go for, Nathan. I really want guys who are good deep, because I just feel like you want that flat pass, long pass. You want that flat pass, long pass. You want guys who I want to run the ball. I'm going to throw a flat pass, of course, but you got to make them pay if they're going to try to bring that safety up to stop that type of approach. And I don't know if Henry Ruggs is going to make it or not, Dennis. I really don't. He could be a total failure. He could be the next, Philip Dorsett, Darius Hayward Bay, but he's pretty fast. I liked his highlights a lot. In college, he didn't do much at all last year, but I liked him. But again, I wouldn't have taken him before the 3rd round probably. So he was my 5th receiver. It's like the first 4 guys I would have taken anywhere in the top 40, but then Ruggs I'm probably not taking until the 3rd round, which is basically what Tim did. He took the last pick of the 2nd round. Then I got T. Higgins, who I didn't like that much. I felt like he was a little slow, but he's very productive. So I don't know. He's a big guy. Now see that like I really didn't go crazy with the order here because I got Claypool behind Higgins, but I like Claypool better than Higgins. I would definitely have taken Claypool ahead of Higgins. There's a chance I would have taken Claypool ahead of Henry Ruggs as well. I like Claypool a lot. He's listed at 6'4", 238. They said, and I think he's slimmed down a little since then. But he looks effortless with his movement. He's very smooth. And I'm not as big as some of the other guys. I'm not that big on Michael Pittman. He's all right. He'll be good in fantasy, but he doesn't really do it for me. And then after that, I've got a big drop off. After that, there's really nobody else after that really does a lot for me. Like these guys are okay, but like Gabriel Davis, Darnell Mooney. Gabriel Davis is interesting because like you watch his highlights and he's just open for bombs all the time in the NFL. And then he only ran like a 4.52 in the combine. He doesn't even look that fast on the field, but yet he's constantly wide open for bombs. So I don't know if that's scheming or whatever, but that you can't ignore that. You can't ignore that when you see a guy wide open in the NFL all the time.
Yeah, so I'm gonna
those guys in the 4th or 5th round though.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. 5th round. That's a different story. You're taking Gabriel Davis 5th round instead of a guy in the 2nd round where you need him to be more of a really one of your number 1 or number 2 receiver. Clearly.
And I actually like the receivers you like, except for Ayuk. I don't like very much.
Except for who?
Ayuk was.
Not that I don't like him. I just don't.
Ayuk.
I felt the same way about Judy, where I hoped he'd be like maybe as a 2nd round pick. I could see myself being really happy to get him. Same with Ruggs as a 3rd round pick. I'd be really happy to get him as a 3rd round pick. And I actually had Claypool right behind Ruggs, but I don't like Higgins at all. I don't know. Maybe I just.
Higgins.
If they don't have that, if I don't think they're close enough or something, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I like Judy better than I liked Calvin Ridley. Not that I was against Calvin Ridley, but it was a similar thing where it's like, okay, I didn't want him like there. Like you said, if I got Judy like 31, 32, I'd be like, oh yeah, I feel good about him there. You know what I'm saying? Not that he's horrible or anything like that. And you made a great point about the offense, Nathan. Especially look, like we talked about Amari Cooper just a year or two ago. It's like, well, CeeDee Lamb looks like the guy now in Dallas. But they got Prescott and they got McCarthy's offense going. And then you got, Vic Fangio with, Teddy Bridgewater game managing over there in Denver. And they got a real good defense. So, it's I don't know. It's interesting, but I'm not against Jerry Jeudy. This is happening over again. Not against him, but yeah, I definitely like Lamb better, and I would have liked Jeudy a little later. I really think that Jefferson and Lamb are probably the only 2 I would have taken in the first round, probably in this draft, probably.
Fair enough.
Hmm.
Okay, so the next pick, we'll move on to
Mhm.
Vegas. AJ Terrell was the pick by Jeff and his Raiders. We talked to, would you mind doing a top 5 cornerback ratings? I know you like CJ Henderson number 1. Was
I
Terrell
know, Douglas. I wouldn't mind doing a top 5 quarterback rating.
Okay, Cookie Cook. That's why they call you Tom Cook. So, did you ever have that nickname?
Yes, I've had the nickname Cookie. You need to stall for at least for a few minutes so I don't
Okay,
choke
well,
to death.
I'll give you my cornerback rankings, and then you can put in your own, and we'll override it. But for myself, I kind of like Trevon Diggs as a second quarterback. Although you could talk me into Terrell too. Nathan, who did you have next after, or who did you have as your top 3 cornerbacks? Let's say.
I had these as like a cluster, and I mean, I probably change my mind every week. I didn't have CJ Henderson. I had a lot of as many guys as Michael and Tom did, but it doesn't surprise me that they had him as their number 1. I watched a lot of the Jacksonville games last year because I had at the beginning of the year when I had Minshew and I had James Robinson in my fantasy leagues. I picked him up week 1, and he looked pretty dang good in those first several weeks. I think he got injured, right? Pretty early in the year last year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely had Henderson in my top 3, but I liked Terrell and I liked. Sorry, who were you just talking about?
Diggs, Trevon Diggs.
Diggs.
You got Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson. So I had those 4 all reasonably close. I didn't study nearly as much, and I definitely didn't study the corners as much just because I didn't really need to in this draft, and I was more prioritizing other things.
Fair enough. How about you, Michael? Did you have a definitive top 3 or an order that you wanted to share?
Not really. I basically had Henderson, Terrell, and Diggs, but I think that to me, I thought Henderson was clearing away the best. Once you get to 2 through 4, 2 through 5, I don't think there was really that much of a difference. Just one thing on that, a couple of years ago in Autumn Wind, when I took Marlon Humphrey in the second round, I was terrible that year, like I was for almost every year, and I think I had maybe 33rd, 34th pick. It seemed like PFF did a really good job of saying, okay, yeah, this rookie didn't play this great, but here's some of the things that he did, especially down the stretch, and here's why we think these are going to be like up and coming players for year 2. I didn't see a lot of that this year. And I'm not sure if PFF didn't do it, or maybe this was just a case where a lot of these players didn't have training camps and they didn't have preseason. And so basically they were just thrown out there. So that's why we see like a myriad of 4s. And unfortunately, I think it's going to take another year to truly figure out which one of these people are really going to be any good. There's going to be some elite corners from this group, but it's really hard to tell because of what they had on tape last year without the benefit of a training camp or preseason games. And I was just kind of disappointed because I don't think PFF was very much of a help either as far as like kind of mining those good players who, okay, yeah, they didn't look great this year, but here's what we expect for them in year 2.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Maybe they don't like the corner class. For me, I had CJ. Yeah. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, that's possible. No, I agree, Tom. I understand what you're saying.
For me, I as you know, Dennis and Michael certainly knows, I took CJ number 12 overall in Autumn Wind. I had CJ number 1 far and away. I really like him a lot. I liked what I watched of his college tape. I liked the good parts I saw of his NFL tape. And it's funny, like about around early August, there was talk about him being a problem. Bad attitude, and maybe he was malingering with injury, like last year in this offseason. So I like as recently as early August, I was like, "Oh, red flag on CJ Henderson. I don't want him." Right, red flag. Last thing I want to guy who didn't play that great as a rookie. Okay, and then like you fast forward to like the week before the AW draft, and you're reading CJ Henderson's been lights out in the preseason. He's been great in the games. He's been great in camp. He's looking tremendous. He's clearly number 1 corner on the roster. So it's like, oh, okay. Well, the guy was number 9 overall. I love his video work. He's got the speed, 4.3, 4.39, 40. And, now I'm reading these wonderful things. I'm on board. Okay. There was no one else. So to me, he was the number one guy in the class by far. My number two corner, by far, I really like this guy a lot. I'm not saying he's going to be perennial sixes. CJ is the only guy, unless Okuda comes through on his potential, CJ is the only guy that I feel comfortable saying this guy should be getting at least 3 or 4 sixes in his career. But my number two guy for me is Jalen Johnson. I really like him a lot. He doesn't have the greatest top speed, but he just seems sticky. He's got long arms. He's got good technique, and he, I don't know. I liked what I saw out of him. AJ Terrell was kind of nondescript to me. I don't think he was bad, but I don't think he looked great either in college or in the NFL. I was not that thrilled with him. So I CJ 1, I let Jalen Johnson 2, and then it gets weird for me because then I would probably cluster a lot of the rest of them. I am not that big on Trayvon Diggs. Everyone else likes him a lot. I'm not that big on him. I really didn't see him doing a lot in the tape I saw in terms of staying on guys or showing great speed. You know what it was with him? I remember now. He was really good on the short stuff. He was really good, like within 10 yards of scrimmage, but he could get burned so easily. Like on his, a lot of his like college highlights were like the guy's like 3 yards ahead of him going for a touchdown, and the quarterback underthrows the ball and he breaks it up. I'm like, well, he's probably not, that was a red flag to me where I was like, especially for a guy who went 51 and probably isn't the fastest. I don't know his 40 time here, but he didn't look the fastest. I was like, okay, he's really good up close, but where's the makeup speed? And how much of a problem is that going to be? So I know Tim loves him a lot in terms of Dallas fan. I'm not saying he's terrible. He's an interesting guy, but I'm not as big on him as the rest of the guys. I would have rather waited. I like L'Jarius Sneed a lot, and I actually like Bryce Hall. So I would have rather waited on like a Sneed and a Hall as opposed to having to take a Diggs pretty high because Diggs probably got there. Where did he go? Yeah, 26 overall. Right there.
Yeah, 2-2.
But now, having said that, Bryce Hall went middle of the second round, which I thought was too high for him, and L'Jarius Sneed also middle of the second round. So you couldn't have. I was thinking, you can wait, maybe late third round. You're getting Bryce Hall. The guy was a 5th round pick in the NFL, but that's not what happened. And Ornament also, these guys went really high.
I think that was part of the thing with this class with me too. Is I had a feeling, and that's how it went. The corners were going to go higher than I would ever want to take them, for the most part.
There you go.
So it was like, well, I mean, what's the point? I put them down. None of them blew me away, so I wasn't even worried about it.
Yeah, I am intrigued by Okuda because of his talent and stuff like that. I mean, his college tape looked amazing. I can see why he got drafted 3rd overall, but he was brutally bad in the NFL. And what bothers me is I didn't read. It's like everything you read this offseason, preseason, it was like, oh, Okuda's ready to turn the corner. It was like, hey, maybe Okuda will work out. Yeah. It's like that's you. Like if you were reading from Okuda, Okuda's looking great this year. He's a different player. Then I'm like, oh, cool. Let me get on Okuda because he looks so talented. But all you were reading about Okuda was, well, Okuda's maybe improving a little bit. He's hoping to turn it around. I'm like, that's not really stirring commentary. You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of like Ruggs, but not even as good in that.
Exactly. That is so accurate.
Want to get him at the right place, but it's probably who knows what's going to actually happen from it.
It's like you put a gun to our head. We'll probably say that both Okuda and Ruggs are busts because they haven't shown enough yet. Like you put a gun to our head, right? But it's like, well, you never know, right? So where they go late, like that's not a bad spot for either one of them.
Together at the end of the second round.
Yeah, at very end of the second. For Okuda and Ruggs, and I feel more comfortable with Ruggs with what he can do. But I mean, who knows? You never know. I mean, but it just seems like a guy drafted top 5 going into his second year in the NFL. I should be reading a lot of good things about him in the write-ups preseason. I mean, look at the first round. Look at these guys. Tristan Wirfs, CeeDee Lamb, like Antonio Gibson. We like a lot. You read some good things about Patrick Queen, Willie Gay, of course, but I was like Okuda. It's like, where is it? Where's the glowing write-up? That bothers me a lot when I'm not hearing like something really strong and when I'm reading about a guy, particularly a guy drafted that highly in the NFL.
Kind of interesting. Andrew Thomas went right in between those two players too. It's like three very similar guys in their position.
Yeah, I wonder
Yeah.
too if it's a lot of times we hear about these guys who get drafted later and they got this chip on their shoulder and they get this. I'm going to show everybody, every team that passed on me, I'm going to show them what they did. Maybe it works the opposite, where these guys get drafted a little higher and they're like, oh, I'm a shit, I'm great. I don't need to work as hard.
Chip, no matter what. I mean, you look at Michael Jordan. That dude's a nut. He'd make up crap. If you watch that.
Sure, that's there are certain people that have that kind of personality, whereas others.
Everyone has that. That's a winner's personality, I think.
Yeah, well, at least it has to be in this day and age. So speaking of Willie Gay, that takes us to your next pick. Were you excited to see him still on the board?
Yes, I was. Well, I should say, the first round flew by this year. The first round was so fast this year that it's like the draft started and it's like, oh, I'm drafting 16. It was so fast, and like there were guys there were good players that it wasn't as big. And I'll say this, you know what I do, Dennis, is after the autumn wind draft, the day one of autumn wind draft. We need 2 days in order to win because the first day is just too short. We need 2 days. The after the autumn wind draft, I do my write up for my autumn wind team, but I don't post it until after the SOMIFA draft. Okay, so I know for a fact that a guy like Joe Golden likes to go and see what I draft and take my guys. So I just posted it tonight. I wrote it that night, but I posted it after SOMIFA draft. I'm not as big on Isaiah Simmons as everyone is. Everyone seems just raging about Isaiah Simmons. He does have the vaunted Dennis NFL.com pre-draft grade of 7.0 or higher, which tends to be a high correlation to success because very few guys get that. So there were some guys going who are good players, like Raekwon Davis, who I just wasn't that interested in, like Raekwon Davis, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I can see why Michael Walker went, but I wasn't going to draft him. My team's going nowhere. Right? We talked about Jerry Jeudy. I'm not that big on AJ Terrell. So as you got to the middle of that first round, and you had Willie Gay there, and I want to absolutely love Derek Brown. I mean, this guy I think is just amazing. But Willie Gay, Derek Brown, I saw those two guys still there, and then CeeDee Lamb is in the mix. Kenneth Murray, I also liked a lot, even though he's an inside linebacker. Nathan. I was like, oh, one of these guys is going to be here, it looked like. So then it's then it came down to Willie Gay or Derek Brown. Like I wrote in my write-up, I'm trying to be a little more like Nathan and try to really take your positional value, long-term positional value into account when you're drafting and trading for guys, because it's as much as I love Derek Brown and Dennis, he's the guy I was trying to trade up into late first round of autumn wind to get because that team could use some kind of nose tackle or 4-3 tackle. It's he's a run-stopping interior defensive lineman. When you're ready to win, you can pick up a 5 or whatever, and you're not going to break the bank, But if you need to pick up an outside linebacker, where are you getting a cheap outside linebacker 5 right nowadays? It's not happening. Forget about it. You know what I'm saying? So number one, I really like Willie Gay as a player. It's funny. He's one of the first ones. I don't know how it happened. He's one of the first ones that I happened to scout this year for some reason. And I just fell in love with him right away. I mean, I had him as he's really fast. I love the fast linebackers, and he's really fast. That's all there's to it. Really, he's really fast, and as the year went by, they said he was really picking up in terms of diagnosing stuff, and he came off late in the season. Everything I've read about year 2 is good, even though I think he was injured, I think, but then back. I mean, where was Willie Gay that big board? He had to be pretty high.
I'm
sorry, Nathan.
I was reading that too. He's one of the guys that I actually got some good in-depth stuff studying, and I liked him too. Is now that he knows what he's doing, he's faster. It's not just an athlete. He knows what he's doing, so he's of course is gonna play faster.
Exactly. Yeah, he's already fast, and he's starting to understand his assignments more later in the season. And look, he's a 4-3 outside linebacker, so you could take the sacks. Give me that 5. Who knows if he gets a 6 or whatever. He was the number 9 player on my big board. And then my big board was not perfect this year because I actually did it this morning. Okay, but he was the number 9 player on my big board, and I really, really liked him a lot. And I'm not saying he's going to be perennial sixes, but I think it should be at least perennial fives, I would hope. And who knows? I mean, who knows with Strat? But again, I just feel like outside linebacker right now. I like you can get the pass rushing guy. You know what I'm saying? Who's like a 0-4 with an asterisk, right? But to get a guy who can actually be a 5 or be a 55, and who knows if he gets a 6 one day, like that is just so hard to come by right now. They don't exist. You got guys begging for 4s. Ron Martin, please trade me a 4 outside linebacker, somebody. You know what I'm saying? And that's the environment that we're in. And I don't know how soon it's going to change or not, but I also like the player a lot. I'm not going to take it just because he's an outside linebacker. But Willie Gay is a that I really, really like a lot. And look, between the John Johnson trade, I made that with Michael. That trade really helped my team out a lot because I didn't need Fadakasi, obviously, I got Kenny Clark, and safety was weakness for me. And getting guys like Willie Gay, and I do like Jordan Brooks in the second round, and I like K'Lavon Chase, not even though he's a pass rusher. I feel like, oh wow, now my defense, might be actually coming together here the next year or two, while we see who ends up playing quarterback for me. But yeah, I like Willie Gay a lot.
Nice.
Obviously.
I think that's you're getting him that late. I thought was good. I think he went earlier in the other 2 drafts. So
well, that's another thing was that I was wondering, because in recent years guys like Bobby Okereke and stuff like that have gone, I think, higher because guys are desperate for linebackers, even though Willie's only a 4 against the pass. I think Okereke might have been a rookie 5. I don't remember. But I was worried that, like, hey, 45-3 second round pick, that's not bad. I was worried someone might grab him. But I can see, like I was telling somebody, I forget one of you guys, I could see like a case for all of these other first round picks the guys took. So it's not like, somebody really screwed up and that's why Willie Gay slipped. He's like, whatever reason, this is what fit their team or whatever fit their team. So there he was. And I don't think 21 was really a slip for him. I mean, he was a late second round NFL pick. He's a 45-3. So he did not get a lot of snaps as a rookie, I don't think. So I was very excited to get him.
Yeah, more for the linebacker premium, because like you said, in SFFDL, my league, KJ Wright went for a first round pick. That's how expensive 5 outside linebackers are.
Wow.
Yeah, I would never got by the TRC in SOMIFA.
Yeah, you think?
So anyways, moving on, Jonah Williams was the Tennessee's second first round pick, the offensive tackle in Cincinnati. I guess we could do a quick offensive tackle rating. Is that the spot for you? Was he the 4th one or the 5th one on your board?
Who are you talking to?
Well, talk to Nathan. Nathan, tell me. We got
I gotta look.
We got Wirfs.
4th.
We had Becton 2, Wills 3. Just going by the order here.
Now, a lot of my offensive lineman stuff I did a little quickly, but yeah, I did have Jonah Williams as my 4th.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I mean,
I didn't draft any of them, to be honest, in this draft either.
Right. The Andrew Thomas is not. He's talking about rave reviews. He's not getting any rave reviews so far. So.
No, but he's getting a lot. But he's getting to know the trainers and the medical staff very well.
I might put. I mean, I know Onwenu's a guard, but I guess you could count him in a tackle if you needed a tackle for this year. I would put him over Williams.
Yeah, I've got Onwenu as a guard though, because I am going by the future position.
Right.
And I tried to open something on Excel and it's not opening, so now I can't get to my stupid thing properly. So, but I think I had to know something about Jonah. Wasn't he banged up again this preseason? But I would not have taken him in the first round. I read, you talk about the write-ups and what you're reading. I read so many good things before the contract about Jordan Mailata. How to pronounce the guy's name?
Yeah.
The guy on Jordan Mailata. That like, to me, I was like, I'm not taking Jonah Williams. If he's going, I'm not taking Jonah Williams. I'm going to wait and take Mailata, is what I would have done. Now, what's funny is that Mick ended up with both of them, They got Milata in the 4th round, which is probably going to be the steal of this draft. I was reading 2 Philly writers, I think on The Athletic, which is a good source for finding stuff out as the season approaches. It's a pay source though, and they were saying, well, who's like the potential surprise Pro Bowler on the Eagles this year, right? And we know the Eagles aren't great this year, but and they both said Jordan Mailata. They said, Bakhtiari's injured and the spot for the second Pro Bowl, this guy could be the guy. And I was like, all right, wow, gee, they like the guy. Okay, that's really something. And then he gets a 4-year, $64 million contract after starting like one season. It wasn't even great last year. I was like, whoa. So, to me, Jonah Williams is not worth the first round pick in this particular draft. There's just a ton of guys I would have taken over him. I mean, that's just the way I would have gone. I'm not a big Jonah Williams fan. I wish. There we go. Finally, my thing came through. I'm trying to click.
So maybe he overpaid a little bit for Williams, but he made up for it with a bargain from Mailata. So.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
that's one way to look at it.
That is one way to look at it. I would say it's an inaccurate way to look at it. I would say if I'm getting a bargain on one guy, the two have nothing to do with each other. I know what you're saying. But he missed all of 2019 with a shoulder injury, missed part of 2020 with knee and neck injuries. And then it's not like he played great either. But and I didn't read great things about him either. But so we'll see what happens. And it's mixed. And Mick doesn't mind if I talk openly. So, but he did get Mailata. Yes, he got Mailata, which is great. And Williams is starting. He's the left tackle.
And he was taken in the top 12 or whatever in the NFL draft.
He was like 11.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he's 11th overall. So.
Yeah, but Dennis, real quick.
Yep.
So would you rather have Jordan Williams or CeeDee Lamb?
I think I'd rather have CeeDee Lamb.
Well, Mick had I think Mick said he has good receivers though. Kenneth Murray was on his radar. I'd much rather Kenneth Murray. How about Derek Brown? He's a pretty good player.
How about Trevon Diggs?
No, I don't want Trevon Diggs. I told you that.
I know, but I'm just saying. Jeremy Chin. There's a lot of guys that are right there on that borderline.
So, I think he said he's a good receiver. So Derek Brown, to me, he's awesome, man. I know, good. I know he's like defensive tackle, but good.
No, well, we can talk about Derek Brown. He's that's the pick that Tim wound up with.
Can I skip your pick?
Well, we can talk about my pick real quick too. I was, going into the draft, I was thinking running back. I would have been ecstatic if somehow Antonio Gibson slipped, which wasn't out of the realm of possibility, although he's gone higher every draft I've seen. But I was resigned to take, Dobbins or James Robinson, just because I have a team that's built to win now and I needed the card. But I had no idea that CeeDee Lamb would be there, and I couldn't pass up that talent. I mean, I don't have a glaring need at wide receiver. My top two are Tyreek Hill and Antonio Brown, but CeeDee Lamb's great. Now I got Lamb and Hill for the next decade, hopefully. It's a nice 1-2 punch.
Probably. And they're hard to trade as receivers.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, you're right. You don't really get value for receivers. Tom knows that with the Julio Jones things. So, but the other thing I thought about was trading with Tom, trading a 1 and a 5 for a 2nd and a 3rd, and then take somebody like Zach Moss in the 2nd, or see who slipped. So that was my other option. But I'm happy.
I mean, to me, we talked earlier when I came on. You guys talked. You haven't to go to my picks. You talked about Jedrick Wills not having any questions. You get a guy usually a 23rd overall. You get a guy with like 0 questions about him, and you're gonna punch him in for 10 years at a position. Like that's a great thing to do. Now, yes, he's only a receiver, quote unquote, right? And you never know. Like I was telling Dennis during the draft, after he made the pick a couple rounds later, we were talking about it. You know the guy's getting like 100 catches and a 12-yard average, right, Nathan? I was like, that's not really the strat receiver I want, right? We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know who that's gonna happen to. Like the way they play the NFL nowadays. Like as great as Michael Thomas is, I don't know if he's the guy when Drew Brees was there that I really love as my strat wideout.
Right.
I
And
don't
then,
know. I mean, Nathan, you're a big play guru. What do you think about that? What do you think about, let's say, a guy like Michael Thomas when Drew Brees was playing? Were you being content with Michael Thomas as your receiver for those 3 or 4 years? Would you have said I would have drafted him 24th overall and been happy with the way things turned out, or no, because you're not getting the down the field action you might want?
I think if you've got like Patrick Mahomes, who is just lights out on the short, I can live with the high catch guys a lot better than I can with most of the other quarterbacks. I need more big plays. Then I want my receivers to be more like, I want that. I think I mentioned in my write-up, I like the short pass wrong column to be a big number. That's what I want. And obviously, it's nice when there's catches there.
A big number in terms of the yards on the card.
I want the yardage to be big.
You want some long gains on there.
You want to punish. You want to run the ball with a good back, and you want to be able to punish them when you're getting guessed wrong matchups on the short pass, especially if they're doing a lot of things like messing around, flooding zones, keeping a 6 safety back deep the whole time, and just leaving their 4s in coverage on guys. There are certain things I definitely want, and one of them is to be able to punish people on the short pass when possible.
That's what's so frustrating to me with some of these quarterbacks who are like 19 completion short pass wrong. Like, I can't tell you how many times in SFA I have like a short pass wrong with Derek Carr, I got like an incompletion on his card. And I was like, "You suck, Derek Carr." It's like that 19 short pass right. It's just not that strong. You know what I'm saying?
Look at all the receiver readings. Obviously, quarterback cards only got the one roll.
Yeah, but the defense
card just got a ton of them. I mean, it's 3-man in zone, and you're running a lot, and they're actually calling some run. And for me, since I throw a lot of bombs, I see a lot of safety deep. You definitely want some big plays on those short passes. You want that DJ Moore card, right, Nathan? You get yourself a nice 20-yard reception from a guy. I mean, that's like 2 catches, for a lot of these other dudes.
Yeah, because as much as, of course, I love DeAndre Hopkins. It's like after like that second season or whatever, he became like a 12-yard average guy, and you're not getting like, Julio almost always had the big average still, but like Hopkins, one of the best receivers in the NFL, and you're not getting like that real dangerous short pass, long pass stuff.
They have to have more explosive plays. They can't just be like Deshaun Jackson was like that sweet spot where he'd get like 60 catches and it'd be a huge average, and he'd have enough 20-plus yard catches where he would always have some, big game cards.
Yeah. He would be 1926 in the short pass, but with the big average. Like, I'm looking at a Hopkins card right now. His longest short pass wrong reception is 19 yards on a 12. And his long pass, and also like the long pass on these guys, it's like they don't have the long gains. Like his 7 is plus 27, and he's 1-7. He's only 12-18, and it just doesn't look that exciting. You know what I'm saying?
I think 60 to 80 catches is a good number. I mean, as long as the guy can get a high enough average and enough.
DJ Moore had 66 catches, 18.1. Of course, they're bringing up my. Of course, they're bringing up my guy. It's not very self-serving.
No,
those are the cards. Yeah, I think those are the cards that both Nathan and I love. I mean, you get those high yardage carries, the high yards per catch. You could just eat people up with that.
Calvin Ridley this year, 90 catches, 15.3. He's maxed out short 6, 11, 40, 50, 20. So how about Tim? What if Ruggs comes through? Tim's got Mahomes. Oh, actually, Mahomes on the bench. Never mind.
You might see him.
How about Tim? I posted on the forum. You got to give him kudos, Dennis. Winning the Super Bowl with his backup quarterback. How about that?
Yes, that's true. Tim did one heck of a job
with the backup quarterback, Dennis.
Speaking of Tim, Derek Brown, another guy with no questions, like you were saying.
No, it was Patrick Mahomes. They're still the backup quarterback. I'm sorry. Oh, I can't say enough about this guy.
Yeah, so Derek Brown. Talk to us about Derek Brown. Michael, you had texted me that if you wouldn't have done the trade with Tom to get Fatukasi that you would have been looking at taking a defensive tackle there in the first round. Were you looking at Derek Brown or Raekwon Davis?
In every draft that I've seen so far, and again, I think this is just endemic of the fact that we didn't have a preseason last year and we didn't have a training. And so those fives that we typically would have seen in rookies all turned basically into fours. And in every draft that I've seen so far, Brown has never gone higher than 22, 23, 24, 26. If he'd have faded into the second round, which is, it would have been not much of a chance for that to happen. Yeah, I would have thought about it, but I wouldn't have taken him at 7 or 11. No, but if I'm going to run 3-4, then I would have had to think, oh, well, maybe I need to go after Raekwon here with either 7 or 11, and I don't think his value would have been there in either one of those picks. I'm glad that pick worked out, that I got a good guy in the middle, and I'm glad that that's good for Tom too. So I'm happy that trade went through.
Nice. Yeah, you picked
number 6 player on my board.
Nice. Yeah, you picked again at 2-5 there, and that's not outside of the possibility that he could have slipped that far. But yeah, filling the hole with Fatukasi is a nice block to build on.
Sure.
So
Michael, you got a pretty decent team this year, because I know that you have, like, going back to the famous Bilal Nickel trade in SFFDL, that you have made moves in the last couple of years to round out some of your teams and try to make the playoffs, even if they're not championship caliber. Is that how you view your SOMIFA team this year? Do you feel like, I don't know your roster, do you feel like it's a team that should be competing for a playoff spot, or you don't see that in the cards this year? I'm just curious.
No, I don't. This team will be lucky to get to 8-8. But I like the fact that what I am building is youth. I like the draft. You guys were very complimentary of the draft that I had last year, and I just wanted to build on that. Before you got on air, I know we've gone back and forth, and Nathan had a real good point about Simmons is that he could be like Budda Baker. You just never know where in the world they're going to play this guy. But had Tua not fallen to me at 7, that's who I would have gotten basically, is Henderson and Simmons. I just want to continue to build with youth on this team. And I thought that getting Swift at 29 was good value. He doesn't have a great card, but he had a really good combine score, and he can cast the ball out of the backfield. That's a plus for me too. Plus, he's going to be carrying with Williams, and so they're not going to basically demolish him in the next year or so. So maybe by the time that I'm ready to contend, his legs won't be nearly as wiped out as somebody like, that's going to carry the ball 250 times a year. So no, I'm just continuing to build. Period.
Yeah, I was going to say, Michael, I put it in my write-up. We last year when we did a show, I think Jay might have been hosting the show last year. I don't remember, but I know Zeb was on, and I was on, and I don't know who else was on. And I commented to that I noticed a big difference in your drafting last year, and then this year it's continued. So I think you have definitely now established yourself as a good drafter. So congratulations, and you'll be a pain in the ass now at taking guys that I want. And I'll try to get you back to the days when you couldn't remember what day the draft was. And Larry Davis is going, where is this new guy? What's going on over here?
Well,
yeah. Michael, next year we're going to draft in October in SOMIFA.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, it's fun.
I'll see you then.
That's how you learn. Basically, you watch these drafts,
yes,
prepare a little bit better, and over time, you're not prone to make too many mistakes, or you hope not, at least. So, anyway.
Well, on your AW team, you drafting guys Marlon Humphrey and Montez Sweat, guys turning out sixes. So, you're doing a great job over there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That was a good draft last year.
Now,
Things fell through nicely.
Now, who is the guy? I can't resist. Since my own teams don't win any championships in the minor leagues, I have to take credit for other things. Well, who's the guy who was urging you to make sure you moved up that one spot with David Will, who doesn't like quarterbacks for some reason, to make sure you got Mahomes and not Trubisky?
I don't think that urging is a strong enough word. I think threatening, probably.
Yes. It was Bosa in that draft. I forget, because you were talking about, I need a quarterback. I could just sit at 3 and get Trubisky. I was like, Michael, just do yourself a favor. David Will just doesn't like drafting quarterbacks. Give him a couple of 4th-round picks, move up one spot, and give him Mahomes.
I've never looked back.
Paid for Geno Atkins and Mike Glennon, I want to say, in the top 10.
Yes, in one draft.
the same draft.
No, not
That's
not
the
Geno Atkins, Nathan. Not Geno Atkins. That would have been fine. Geno Smith. Back to back. Well, he didn't want Andrew Luck, which ended up being the right move. He didn't want Andrew Luck in the expansion draft in AW. And then, he passed on some other quarterback, the next year. And then he took, Glennon and Geno, 7 and 8 the next year. And, he traded down out of the Mahomes pick. So it's not been a good but he finally got somebody. Did he get somebody finally this year?
Got Winston that he likes his chances with.
That's going to be really interesting. If Sean Payton's coaching and Winston has a lot of natural ability and the way they can scheme, it's going to be so interesting to see if he can do well. And so much for all those people telling you that Taysom Hill is going to be a good quarterback and they stick Steve Young and they like the guy so much, why don't you give him the job? I'm sorry, but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, taking it back to Tim Steen, our champion in SOMIFA. I talked to him a little bit about his, of course, I think we all agree Derek Brown's a great pick for him. He needs the help too. He has a lot of holes on defense. He mentioned in his write-up, he's starting a lot of 4s, only a 1-5 on the defensive line, which is his strength. He's got DeMarcus Lawrence, Darren Payne, and Derek Brown now. So, he's starting to build there from the front to the back. But when I talked to him about, is this finally the year he's going to trade Prescott? He's like, no, I'm just going to keep him. I don't see a big urgency, and you want to trade him when he's healthy and has a more impactful card so you can get more. So for those of you who are looking to remove Dak Prescott from Tim's hand, some guys don't like quarterbacks like Dave Will. Tim loves quarterbacks, and he's not going to let one of these guys go, at least not this year.
I was going to say, you talked about Derek Brown, and Michael talked earlier about the nose tackle, the 3-4. If you have a guy who's a true stud, like Nathan mentioned, Geno Atkins, who was a true stud for all those years with the Bengals, it's like you did with Ndamukong Suh, Dennis. I forget what league you had him in. You drafted him as a rookie, I believe, and then you played the 3-4 with him because it's like, well, he's going to be a 6 every year, so I'm going to nose tackle 5 of it, and that's great. So theoretically, now Tim happens to have Deron Payne also, but theoretically, if Derek Brown becomes a guy who turns out his annual 6s, that's a very fine approach as well. I feel. Don't you think so?
Oh, absolutely. And Sue, when I was first playing him as a 5 nose tackle, that was before I realized that the 4-3 can be just as effective. When he 3 or 4 years into that, and I found a decent partner for him there on the defensive tackle. I just switched to a 4-3. So there's nothing wrong with trying a different defense.
Didn't you also have a middle linebacker 6 for a lot of that time?
Yeah, I did. But
so
that makes it easier.
To be the 4-3, for me, I can't coach it that well, and particularly if I don't have a linebacker 6 in the modern league, I cannot coach as well. Guys like Jay and Ron Martin, and of course Ron Dickinson, they can coach that 4-3 well. Paul, yes, that's an excellent name to bring up, and Paul never has good linebackers, and he's he has a lot of pass rush. I cannot coach that 4-3 in the modern league well. You got to give me a 6 or somewhere, a linebacker just to have a chance.
Yeah, I hear you. So now that we're done with round 1. Do you guys want to look at draft by team or by round? Just want to go quickly through either one of those formats and pick out somebody you like.
I'm getting a lot of feedback. Michael and Anthony, are you getting feedback when Dennis is talking or no?
No.
It's just me. Actually, okay,
I hear it too. I hear myself talking back to me, and I hear you talking back to yourself. So,
is someone listening to the broadcast on speakers and not in the headset?
That's a possibility. I muted Michael. Okay, now I'm not hearing it. So let's go with this.
So we're playing Michael as usual.
Michael said he had a headset on earlier.
Yeah, but I think he switched to speakers, and that's what's throwing us off. Okay, so you guys want to go through the team draft, pick out a guy you like, or do you want to go by round and pick out like 1 or 2 picks you like?
I'm having a hard time because my stupid thing is not clicking right, but I would probably. What were the choices?
We can look at the draft. We can look at the draft by team.
Yeah, I know.
All through 2014. Pick out one guy from each team and say, "Oh, I like."
Oh yeah,
that.
let's do that. We used to do that. We used to do that back in the day.
Okay, so let me do.
Maybe the year before this one. Give me one minute before my 2000 particular.
Okay, so starting with Arizona, Chase Young was their pick first overall. You see Gaskin in the second round, Chin in the second round, a couple picks later, Dantzler in round 3. I'll start here. I like, again, I use his list. I like that Jeremy Chin pick 2-8. I thought that's an impactful player at a good price. So that would be my selection.
Morgan Fox.
Yeah, nice defensive in there in round 5. And we don't all have stock, so we'll just move on to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So Atlanta, what was your favorite pick of your own, Nathan?
I think I liked the most. I think I like J.K. Dobbins at 214.
Yeah, I like Pierre Tart too. If he turns into the player I think he's going to be, I think he could be like a perennial 5 nose tackle for the Titans.
Gibbs and Tart will be the ones I'm watching to see how they pan out.
Yeah, because Tart could also wash out and just not and lose the starting job, because he's an undrafted free agent, so he's not going to have a lot of lifelines. But from what I've read, he's just really impressed in camp. So I think that's my favorite pick of yours.
Yeah, you know what happened, Dennis? Is I don't know what happened when I was doing my sorting for AW draft and putting something of a big board together. All the defensive tackles were omitted. Because Tart was the guy that I wanted in AW, and I have an eye on Devon Hamilton as well. And I was like, they got drafted. I was like, wait a minute, how come this guy's not on my list? I don't know if I'd have beaten you to Tart in AW, but I felt like, oh man, I blew it. But let me say Arizona since I wasn't there. What do you think when you pick the guy you like for the value?
Yeah, the value.
I would go with Morgan Fox too. Like Nathan said, he's starting. I think he looked pretty good in his highlights for a kind of a no-name type of guy. And then we do with Nathan's team.
Okay, hold on. One quick. I got to tell one story about his list, and I screwed up. I hope he's not too mad at me. But Bob, if you're listening to this, what about Bob? He had Donovan. No, he didn't. He had Donovan Wilson on his list, but when Michael picked Logan Wilson, I crossed off Donovan Wilson by mistake. So that guy would have got picked like at maybe 6 picks before he went. So I apologize. I guess that's kind of the danger you get with drafting for 2 teams. I did pick up a 4 safety for him later on. Now I'm rooting against Donovan Wilson. I hope he washes out and we never hear from him again. So
I was going to say I owe you dinner, but not now.
At least he got Sam Mustafa.
Exactly. That was who I picked. That should have been where I picked Donovan Wilson.
Yeah, he says, yeah, so I figured in 4th round. For Nathan, I would probably go with Dobbins also. I mean, I really like Dobbins a lot. I know he's like, you worry if he's going to be chunky because he's got so many long runs, but I mean, that Baltimore offense, we see the type of cards they're turning out. I'm really curious what they're going to do with Lamar Jackson when contract time comes. The way that franchise operates, would they consider letting him walk and go for a cheap option instead of paying him a ton? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But I'll go with Dobbins.
Okay. And Michael, chime in here too. Do you have a pick you like from those 2 teams, or you're good?
I
don't want the echo back, but it sounds like you're good now.
The Dobbins pick, I like it too. I know he had. I know how well he's played with Gus Edwards. He knows exactly how to use those chunky running backs cards. When he pairs them up with a solid quarterback, he's murder. So
nice. Okay, so on to Buffalo. What do you see here? Justin Jefferson, James Robinson. I do like James Robinson in the 2nd round. I know you said you had him written off, but that's a good card. Etienne got injured, so he's still going to get the volume. I expect his shelf life to be just as good as any other running back. 4 years or 5 years, and he's got a really nice card this year. So that's my pick.
I got to go for Julian Blackmon. I'm a big Julian Blackmon fan. I really like him a lot.
I love Blackman.
Yeah, I needed two safeties. He was in the mix of guys that I was looking at late second round, but I went for linebackers instead. But to get, I mean, I know he wasn't the highest NFL pick, but early third round, he's a safety 45. The safeties were sliding this year for some reason, but I really like him a lot. And Scott's a very good drafter, so I got to go that early third round.
Bottom win pick at 129 when Dennis let his time run out. I sent it in. I picked Julian Blackman. I really like him.
I like him a lot too.
Nice. Michael?
I just for the heck of it, I know it's low hanging fruit, but I just like the courage of taking a Justin Jefferson early when there were several. We've already talked about it. There's several good wide receivers. He could have waited to the second round and got somebody slightly comparable, but he truly felt like this was the cream of the crop, number one, and he took that chance.
Yeah, that's his ride or die. Instead of taking Jonathan Taylor, then coming back and getting the wide receiver later. Good point. All right, on to Chicago. Speaking
it's funny, a move like that with Jefferson, we all know how good he is. I like him more for a guy like Scott, who is generally going to draft well anyway. So it's like, okay, so then if he's got a late 1 and a 2, he'll draft some other good players. So if he only took a receiver at number 4, he's still going to find some quality elsewhere,
Right, absolutely. Okay, Chicago.
Jonathan Taylor. That's awesome. I mean,
which way? Murray or Taylor?
Taylor,
yeah. Okay.
It's Brett Lane. I got to go for, I'm going to pick one guy, right? I guess I got to go for Kenneth Murray. I mean, 2.6. That's about where he should have gone, I suppose. And I do like Robert Hunt a lot in the third round. But I like Murray a lot. I know, he moves really well. I know Nathan would say he's only an inside linebacker, but it is the second round. Maybe he's more of a run stuffing guy. But I really like him a lot, and he was on my list. And a guy to get there, I thought was a really good guy, really guy to get.
I'm gonna go with a surprise pick of Isaiah Rodgers. He's still returning. He has a number 3 kick return card in the set. When you're looking to win a championship, those are the final little icing on the cake that you need to pay attention to make sure your team does the best it can. Michael?
I think his top 3 just look like they're appropriately priced. So everything looks good to me there. No surprises.
Yeah. I actually didn't scout Jonathan Taylor, so I can't comment on him. But everyone says that that's about where he should go. Nathan picked him as his guy there. So I'm going to get Taylor, Murray, and Hunt 1, 2, 3 with 1 pick each round. That's pretty nice. 1, 2, 3 there.
Absolutely. On to Dallas. Now I'm going to steal your guys' thunder and pick Justin Matabuki as my favorite pick. I think he's going to be a beast on that Baltimore defensive line. I know we talked already about Isaiah Simmons, but that guy looks like he could be an impact player in the 4th round. That's not a bad place to get him. I had a big gap between when I picked him the 1st round and the 4th round. And when I saw he was still on the board at the beginning of the 4th round, I had hopes that he would fall to the bottom, but it didn't happen.
Just a quick comment on that.
I'm going to go.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah. You feel like Matabuki weighs, just a matter of time. He's still emerging as nose tackle or 3-4 end for Baltimore, and Derek Wolf's injured, so that could be sooner rather than later. My guy is John Simpson, 9th round, 20th pick. This guy is 635 NFL.com pre-draft grade, which was pretty good. He was a 4th round pick. I read some decent things about him. I think he was banged up this year. They expect Simpson to eventually start for that team, maybe not this year, but probably next year. And I kind of forgotten about it a little bit. And of course, Zeb with his eye on the offensive lineman, I would not be surprised if Simpson emerges as a pretty solid player in a year or two, and it's the late 9th round.
Nice. Nathan?
Well, I mean, I would say, hold on, I'm on the wrong screen here.
Who did you say, Michael?
So just a quick comment on this. So this Matabuki guy, I saw another list where basically he was listed as like among the best players under 25. But
yeah, and
yeah,
Football Outsiders.
again, I find it funny, and Tom, thanks about that thing about the Athletic. I was thinking about subscribing to that. I see a lot of articles, and then of course you're denied because of the subscription. It sounds like they've got some pretty good insight. So, but I dare say that a lot of us probably are looking at the same sources of information. It's not like there's anything that we're uncovering that's any different unless we've got spies at all 30 of these camps. We're pretty much reading the same thing. And I just find the Donovan Peoples-Jones pick interesting in that I'd heard that he had like a monster camp, but he was like a 5th or 6th round pick in the real NFL, and he's behind Landry and he's behind Beckham. And I don't see who he's going to overshadow from them. I don't know that he has the athletic quality to be a 1 or a 2. So I
Isn't he a big returner?
I beg your pardon?
Isn't he a big returner or something too?
He is. He has a very impactful return
He's
card.
real big on the return stuff also, if I recall.
Is Dallas in a position of competing though? Because usually you save those if you're really going for it.
Well, he usually is.
It doesn't
But
matter
actually-
whether you
but
have a
actually-
good team or not.
But actually, Peoples-Jones
That's got
doesn't
a
have
great
a good.
team.
Peoples Jones doesn't have a good returning card this year. But
So
I think he has a good reputation as a
yeah,
returner.
he has a good receiver card.
He's
He has a good receiver card. He needed that because he had Zach Pascal and Jakeem Grant as his receivers. He's got King Henry, so he's got Derrick Henry and Andy Dalton as his quarterback. So he needed that big yardage receivers, and he picked up Jalen Guyton in the 5th round, so he can, when people guess run to stop Derrick Henry, he can make him pay.
I don't know. I'm not. I thought it was a surprising pick, way too early in my opinion. But I've learned better than to question Zev. I mean, the guy's a great coach and knows what he's doing, and he puts his team together in a way differently than a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at the standings and you see what he does with his team. So who am I to say? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I
Right.
think that his rosters are so damn deep all the time that he really, I mean, I know he's talked about the special teams and the returners and how much of a bump that is. And I definitely think that's got to be the case here because I agree. I did have him way lower for receiver.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, he took him ahead of.
One of the guys I'd rather have.
He took him ahead of.
That's got to be a big factor for him.
Well, look
Took him
down
ahead,
there.
it took him ahead of Brandon Ayuk, and Henry Ruggs.
And Chase Claypool. And
Yeah.
T. Higgins.
Yeah, and Chase Claypool, yeah. Well, T. Higgins, we were saying what he's big on, and Chase Claypool. And Peoples-Jones. I mean, even if I don't know, even if he's had a big camp. And last I checked, he still have Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Rashard Higgins.
Right.
All right. I'll put him down for the gas face. So that's his gas face pick. So
By the way,
All
this is supposed to be us saying who we like from his team, right? That's right.
yes, exactly.
Metabuke. We all said.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody said Matabuke. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
I thought John Simpson.
Oh no, you did.
Oh yeah, John Simpson. Okay. So now on to Denver. Raekwon Davis, Brandon Ayuk, Byron Pringle. This is Malcolm Roach. That's my favorite. Malcolm Roach. I forgot about him. I'd already picked a defensive tackle. That guy might get one of those Puna Ford sneaky fives at defensive tackle for a few years.
He's on the Saints and he's in the mix to start. They've got some injuries over there, right?
He's starting. He's not in the mix. He's starting. So
Okay. By the way, this is a major surprise in the world of sports. So you get the breaking news. At the age of 58, Evander Holyfield was stopped by TKO in the first round tonight. Fighting a much younger man, a 44-year-old Victor Belfort, former UFC fighter. So Evander hanging up. I'm all for guys doing what they want, but you know what? You're about to turn 59. Maybe it's time not to step into the ring. I don't know, just me. Anyway.
yeah, I really got scared there. I thought you were going to say he passed away from COVID or something.
Right.
No, he'll be dead by the morning.
Yeah, but how much money does he make, Tom? That's the problem.
That's true. Plus, he has like 73 kids, doesn't he?
I want Raekwon Davis here, Dennis, especially since he moved up from 18 and only paid a sixth to do it.
Okay, so Raekwon Davis is yours. I know Tom's has got to be Brandon Ayuk, right?
Yeah, I really like Brandon Ayuk a lot. And again, it's one of those things where you know you're going to get the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like if you took Brandon Ayuk 18 overall, I wouldn't be like, oh, what a great pick. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but I know you're getting Brandon Ayuk like late second round, and I really like the guy. He just looks. He's very fast. He's got speed. He's got quickness. He runs really great after the catch when they love in the offense. I like him better than Deebo Samuel, who the other guy they got. And he returns punts. And going forward, I really like him a lot, and I hope he does really well. I like to be right about players I like. So good.
Do you feel like Ayuk's going to be an explosive type of receiver in Strat though?
I think he'll be at least a 13 yards a catch guy, which is actually not that bad nowadays. But he's not going to be like an 18-yard average guy.
He worries me that he's going to be a way better NFL player than he is Strat guy. Is all. That's my
that could absolutely be the case. But I feel like that could be the case, absolutely.
But it's fun to watch.
I think that.
Yeah.
I personally think that Ayuk is going to turn Samuel Debo into the possession receiver. I think he is going to have value there, and I think he will be a perennial 5-6 deep.
Well, that offense, they really don't. They don't seem to produce the very low average receivers. Even though they're not really launching bombs. I could be wrong about that, but it doesn't seem like they produce the very like the 12 and under average guys. I don't know. And I'm not a huge Samuel guy, but I don't know. Somehow they get it done. I don't know.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan's known for finding space for his guys, and I think you're going to see. Yeah, we're going to see what's going to happen when Trey Lance takes over as quarterback, which I think we all expect to happen later this year.
One thing that's good about that is that I don't think Trey is known for his short passing efficiency. So
right.
Maybe if he's not as good, at the short stuff, maybe you get a little better average because he's not completing as many fly passes. I don't know. That's total speculation, but just saying.
Can I just toss one thing out real quick on that?
Yeah, Mike, good.
Their pick in the 8th, that Zacharias last year. Atlanta has no running game at all. Mike Davis basically is going to be toting the rock for them this year. So I think that Ryan's going to be throwing a lot of passes. Last year, I picked up a guy who was a late round selection from LSU a couple years ago, Russell Gage, who wound up with 72 catches, kind of came out of nowhere. Again, he's a possession receiver. He's not a deep threat, but it's a nice gift to have somebody who'd be a 5 short. And I think that now that Jones is gone, I think that Zacharias will take over that number 3 role. So I wouldn't at all be surprised to see him with 60 catches.
Nice.
All right, there you go.
All right, so on to Detroit.
Don't forget, of course, Kylie Pitts over there. Is that the name?
That's right. Yeah, Kyle Pitts.
The rookie, the Kyle Pitts. Thank you, the rookie tight end.
Oh yeah,
correct. Oh yeah.
So Denzel Mims to me on this team was a guy that I expected him to go a little earlier. So that's going to be my star pick. A lot of good picks here, though.
I like Darnell Mooney.
Like who?
Good deep card type guy.
And Mooney and Mims. Receivers. I know you like Cole Kmet.
I will say I saw Becton. I watched a couple preseason games, and I saw him blow up Chris Barnes on some sort of a screenplay. He just destroyed the guy. I loved it.
Becton's an animal. I love Becton. I'm just like, you're trying to pick the players and
in the first round, he's safe. I totally understand.
Yeah, no, I love it. No, I have no problem back there. No, Becton is Austin Watch. It happened last year. He's the only offensive lineman where they show his highlights and you want to watch his highlights. He's like if he goes up against like a 4-3 defensive end who's like 6'2", 260, the guy has no chance. It's like I mean, normally that happened last year. I know what was going on in the camp, whatever, but it's like it takes them so long to get around him. He's got the long arms, and these guys look like so small against him. It's so kind of comical sometimes.
He looked good in all the blocking, but to see an offensive lineman of that size go track down a linebacker, and it's hard to find a linebacker and hit him on a screenplay, and he moved him. It was great.
Yeah, he moves really well. I was excited to draft him. Because you draft a guy number 10, you'll Google his highlights, even though he's an offensive lineman, and you saw them moving. And it's like, whoa, this guy moves. It's crazy, and it's scary. Like last year a couple of times he'd be out on a screen, and the screen was going. Now he's like running downfield towards the secondary guys, and these guys are like, oh my god, you know, so like 198-pound safety, like get me out of here. You know what am I supposed to do here? You know, Dennis, I wouldn't read too much into my selection of Cole Kmet, number 60 overall on Autumn Wind. I don't mind Cole Kmet for Autumn Wind 30-team league, but he's not the type of tight end that Tom Cook gets excited about, I would say. It's like Autumn Wind is like, all right, he's all right, and I know he can block. I think he moved better in the NFL than he did in college, actually. He looked better to me, which is weird. I think it's something about the color of the shoes sometimes, I swear to God. But when you watch these highlights, but I wouldn't say that I'm in love with the guy. You know what I'm saying? He's more like okay to me. To be honest, I like Becton a lot. Of course, I have no problem with him at 13, of course. But there's probably nobody else in this draft that I'm really crazy about. Regarding Denzel Mims, I liked him a lot with the Jets last year. He looked really good. My understanding is that the new offense, they want guys who can run after the catch. And he's more of a tall receiver, like go down the field. He's going to fight at the point of, what is it? The point of completion or whatever, the point of reception. And he's like a little bit like down the depth chart. So what?
If you're a Jet, if he's on the Jets, it might be the point of interception.
Well, yeah, that's true. So you need a guy like that, you know. But yeah, so I like Denzel Mims a lot. I was kind of disappointed that they tell me he's 4th, 5th in the depth chart. He was also injured in camp and kind of fell behind some of the guys in the new offense. He might be a guy that, you know, the Jets like jettison or whatever, and then he plays well someplace else. So he seemed like a good player to me, but they want guys to go into the catch. So who knows?
All right. So Michael, any pick here? Tom, you got anybody you want to start, or just leave it?
Nothing really.
I just pass for me. I like Becton. Becton would be the guy. Becton would be the guy.
Okay.
But it needs, it's first round 13. It's kind of where he's supposed to go. So,
I'll put it there anyway. Okay, Green Bay. We haven't talked about them because they didn't have a first round pick. And to be honest, their first pick of the draft, DJ Reed, is somebody I love for like the 5th or 6th round. I was shocked to see him go in the second round, 15 overall. And I follow the Seahawks. He's a hell of a tenacious type player. But to me, he's the guy who brings home a 4 every year, not 5. What do you guys think about DJ Reed, and who did you like in this draft class?
I did not have DJ Reed really on my radar. And I guess I'm going to probably pass on this draft class. Good.
I have to say Rashard Higgins just because he's a 5 corner and he's in the 4th round. That's worth more than that right up. So
Right.
I don't know
5 what?
Well, anyway, but if you can get
So
a
he's
5 in the 4th round, I'd take it.
You said a 5 what?
Rashard Higgins is the receiver.
Oh,
You're thinking of somebody else. You're thinking of Terrence Mitchell.
yeah, my bad. Well, then never mind.
I'm going to put a star next to Kyle Duggar because I do think he's a good player.
Me too.
3rd round. Okay, so I'll get you there.
Yeah,
too.
put me on him too. I looked at him early on, but I don't think I updated my list very well.
I think I'm polishing up the old villain hat a little bit again tonight, Dennis.
All right, I like it. It fits you well.
Not intentionally, but guys, guys want to hear the truth. Come on, let's go.
All right, on to Houston. Winfield, Hurts, Damian Lewis. I like that. This is Paul's team. I like that Damian Lewis pick in the 3rd round. He doesn't have any pass blocking this year, but
Seahawk.
I passed on him before in other leagues. But in the 3rd round, 10th pick, I think that's a good spot for him.
I like Damian Lewis. You get a guy who can run block like that. You figure sooner or later he can figure out how to pass block a little bit. I'm going to go for value. I'm going to go with Albert. I don't know how to pronounce it. Albert Aguabunum. Alberto. 6th round, 12th pick. He's a second tight end on Denver, and I know they've got Noah Fant, of course, as the number 1. But I think he moves pretty well, and I think he can play okay. And I'm not saying he's great or whatever, but I think he can be a contributing player. And for your second tight end, you don't always need a star there. And I think he can block a little bit. I'm not sure he's a block from 5, so I thought he was a nice pick there.
No Jalen Hurts.
I'm going to say Jalen Hurts because I didn't want to have to necessarily take him, but I mean, you can't beat second round there and getting a guy like that. I mean,
That's right.
Kind of Lamar Jackson all over again when that pick was coming up.
Yeah,
I passed on him and took Dante Jackson.
that's good value.
You know what's interesting? What hurts is like I was Googling him this morning. It's like I could not find anything on the way he was performing. I couldn't find articles saying Hurts is doing great in camp or boy Hurts is struggling. It's like all it was like, is Hurts going to succeed? I was like, tell me how he's doing. How does he look? You know, it's like I couldn't get that information. You know, so
but are they talking about that in for instance, Matt Stafford? Everyone's like, oh yeah, he should do good, but sometimes some teams just don't show you a damn thing. You know,
A lot of
sure.
A lot of teams weren't playing.
Yeah. Well, but I'm saying even in camp, like they talk about
you should see him in camp and get some kind of idea.
Yeah, and also I mean, look, Matthew Stafford's an established quarterback. This guy, we don't know what he's going to do yet. You know, so that's what I'm saying. I don't need information on Matthew Stafford. I want information on this guy, who it was a rookie last year and played for a certain number of games, but I wanted to hear how he was doing this year. Because I would have considered drafting him somewhere if I could have found a little more about him. I got Sam Darnold and Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, I mean, I have Minshew, so that would have been like the perfect. One of those bastards are going to go for me. But then again, it's like, well, what the hell's the point if I end up with a guy that plays like Cam Newton in Stroud?
Yes.
I don't care if he's a starter. I never am going to use him.
Yeah, you don't like going 7-9.
All right, on to Indy. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Laviska Shenault, Connor McGovern, Tate Crowder. He had no picks in the second and third round. I'm going to go with Laviska Shenault. I mean,
me too.
This guy is like blowing up the fantasy,
he's got all the
ratings. Yeah, and I don't know how that translates into strat with these bubble screens, but if he gets like a big yardage based on taking these behind the line of scrimmage plays or these quick slant to the house, that could be a decent strat card. I don't know.
I feel about him like I kind of feel like you super talented, not necessarily sure it's going to translate, but in the fourth round, I mean, that would be my pick.
I feel like he is the guy that, from what I was reading, is going to be high volume, low average. He is very, very talented.
Yeah,
but it's more the way they're using him. I feel much more concerned about him for that sort of thing than I do for Ayuk. So he's going to be he's going to be a really good player. I'm going to watch the games. He's like another first down by Shenault, and then it's going to be like 85. 85 catches, 9.9 average. So I don't know. So there's no one that leaps out of me in this draft class. Connor McGovern is of some interest to me. He's a third round pick, but he haven't really heard much about him either. So, doing nothing for me, I would say. If there's nothing that really leaps out at me or that I really like a lot, I guess I'll just, I won't pick one for that team. I suppose we're good.
Sounds good. Okay, so Kansas City. We have
Kansas City. Kansas City. Here I come.
Mm-hmm. Well, you are supposed to be leaving Kansas City. Did Ed ever get back to you on your requested move to Cleveland?
No, I'm sure he had better things to do, but I'll get with him.
Kansas City.
Okay.
Kansas City, there I go. He's leaving.
Off to Cleveland.
All right, so let's see. I like a lot of these middle round picks. We talked about the early ones already. I don't want to break this to you, Michael, but there's some DeAndre Swift murder rumor going around that he admitted to like offing somebody. So keep an eye on that. I'm not kidding. It's like if some Philadelphia murderer and he says, it's an internet thing, kind of. Who knows? Internet also said some mean things about Russell Wilson. So I don't know.
Those were justified, Dennis.
It was self-defense.
Russell Wilson.
I believe it was self-defense. So
okay, we'll go with that.
Dennis, was that the one about Russell Wilson abandoning all the wounded animals?
No, there's some Instagram model that said that she got down with Russell Wilson, that he cheated on his wife, on Sierra, but nobody believes it. So I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, he could have, but he just doesn't seem the type, and that would be a really big blow to his reputation. But anyway, we're talking about the Chiefs. We're not talking about Russell Wilson. We're talking about the Chiefs. My
Was that
favorite
before?
pick.
Was that before or after he was neglecting the wounded animals?
Probably at the same time.
Or the murder rumor that's now on tape. That's nice. So I disavow knowledge of any of that. So Dennis Crowley does not speak for me.
Michael, why does your organization support murderous individuals?
All right, so here we got Lions head coach responds to rumor that DeAndre Swift is under investigation for murder.
Yes.
TMZ, Complex, New York Post.
Dan Campbell looks like he's smiling in the picture. So
yeah, so it's I don't know. Again, I don't know. I don't know.
Did you see his great combine score though?
Yeah,
his ACL's not torn.
Lions coach shuts down unfounded internet rumors. There you go. So we'll leave it at that. I'm going to say Shane Lemieux, a starting offensive lineman in the 6th round. I like those guys. Can turn into solid 5-4s, 4-5s. That's going to be my pick.
I just read. Go ahead, Nathan. What was that?
I'll say Tua for the same reasons I had as Hurts. I feel like where he was coming, you pretty much had to take him, and I'm kind of glad that you didn't force my hand to do it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just read a phrase that you don't like to read in relation to the situation we were talking about DeAndre Swift, which is Philadelphia police have declined to comment. That's not, that's disconcerting. I had not realized that Swift was potentially associated with a murder. He was on my board, Michael. So good luck over there. I did not have him dinged, but I don't know. Let me look here. I like Michael's whole draft.
Might just be a misdemeanor, right?
Yeah.
Detroit. Well, it's a Philly incident, so I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to put that kind of stuff on tape. So
now, if he killed a Cowboys fan, I think he'll be all right.
All right.
So, Michael, I like these first 4 picks a lot. So it's like I like all the guys. Who do you want me to pick on value? I love CJ. It's 11 number overall, but I mean, I like getting Swift where you got him. If that's all just a rumor. I mean, 2 at 7. That is kind of have to do that. So I'm not sure I'm going to pick one that I like. I think they're all solid. But let me say some nice things about Logan Wilson, who Michael took in the 3rd round.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the ones that made me sell. There's Michael doing his homework there. This guy apparently had a reputation as an excellent pass defending linebacker coming out of college, which is rare. He's going to be playing middle linebacker this year. He's going to be calling the signals. So in like a weird Bengals linebacking group, maybe he's going to do something. He looked all right to me on his tape. I'm not saying he looked great, but they say he's really, really smart. And we talked about it's hard to find guys who can defend the pass. So I don't know how good this guy is or is going to be, but you've read a lot of positive stuff regarding the intangibles aspect of the game. And it's not like he's slow. Like I watched his highlights. He's not slow. He's no Nick Kwiatkowski with the speed, Dennis. But he's he's not slow or anything like that. So he's a player that to me is just interesting to watch what happens. I know the Bengals have no defense. I don't know. They're just a weird team. Are you drafting receivers? Are you drafting more receivers? You can't draft some defense as an offensive lineman. Anyway, but those first 4 are very interesting to me. The first 3 I liked a lot, assuming Swift is not guilty, and even Ben Powers. And even other guys. Eeny, meeny, miny, mony. The 5th round, why not? It's a 1st round pick. So yeah, it was a good job.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right.
Who'd you like, Michael?
Yeah, who'd you like from your own team?
Yeah, Michael.
So in the other 2 leagues, Autumn Wins, Strat 28, I tried to get Logan Wilson each time and got beat out by like 2 picks. So I'm really happy to get him. It's kind of fun to play in different leagues so you can kind of diversify your portfolio. So
that's right.
Unless you have Russell Wilson at quarterback in every league.
That's right. Yeah, I haven't heard that from you, Dennis. If you remember, many years ago, you were talking about we were doing one of the shows, and you said something like, "Well, well, you don't want to have the same guy in every league because he gets injured. I said, yeah. I said, yeah. That's why you. I said, so which of these leagues are you getting rid of Russell Wilson in? So you're not stuck with the same quarterback in every league. And you have not brought up that point since then, Dennis.
The defense rests. I actually agree with the prosecution in this case.
Yeah. Get who you
Okay.
want. You get him in every league.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Okay, Patrick. We got the Chargers. Got Patrick Queen, the Jerry Sneed. He Diablo, aka TJ, is a notorious defensive drafter. I think so. He kind of reminds me of the Grand Rapids coach over in Autumn Wind, where he's always picking defensive guys.
Dave Maltlicker, 45.
Yes, that's the guy. So maybe they're the same guy. They just have
45
aliases.
Maltlicker, sorry. Yeah. I know it's been some lean times for the franchise. I don't know. I mean, Patrick Queen. I know he's pretty. I don't think Patrick Queen is quite great. And out of the 9 overall for me is kind of high for Patrick Queen. I'm sleeping on the guys I like. I kind of like John Franklin Myers in the 4th round. I mean, that's about where he should go, but he looked kind of decent. He looked kind of decent doing his highlights. Gardeck is injured. I don't know.
I pick up Neville. I like Neville Gallimore, who's
that's a good choice.
He's dinged up, but to get him in the 8th round, and if he winds up, he's like one of those defensive tackle guys you're talking about that you can get, veterans, a veteran 5 cheaply, but he could develop into that kind of player.
Absolutely, that's a good call. I miss his name there.
I actually kind of like the Jerry Sneed where he got him. I mean, I really liked him because he picked him right before J.K. Dobbins, so that made me happy too.
Okay.
for the corner for where he's being drafted, to me that makes a lot of sense.
I really like him a lot as a player. I really do. I think he might really surprise in this class if you're trying to look at the top 6 or 7 and say, maybe he's even the 3rd best one or something. I was just surprised to see him go middle of the 2nd round because of where he went in the NFL. He's only 4,
He had the best PFF rating of any of these rookie.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, PFF coverage rating.
I think he's looking pretty good too in the preseason, from what I've could tell.
Yeah. I think he's incredibly fast. I think on top of that, which I like him a lot. Yeah, I was just surprised to see him go where he went. I thought he'd go a little later.
Michael, who did you pick?
I liked your pick there of Neville Gallimore.
Perfect. Okay, on to.
I think to get Jackson where he did at the 3rd round, there's value there. Obviously, seeing a first rounder drop to 3, so it's worth the lottery ticket there.
Sounds good. All right, the Rams. I love Chase Claypool at 217 and Christian Fulton at 318. Both those guys look good to me at first glance. I'll go with Christian Fulton because it's so hard to find a good outside cornerback. He won the job with the Titans, so that'd be my pick.
Mine too.
I'll go.
Mine too.
I'll go with Claypool. I'm down on Fulton, and I like Claypool a lot. So I'll go with Claypool, even though Fulton's starting. Okay.
How about you, Nathan? Nathan, we got to get a star in there for Epinenza. Everybody seems to be going crazy for him. I thought it was a little early, but good player.
I think put me down for him. I actually felt like there wasn't for where he was taken. I like it.
All right, 3 picks for the Raiders. I got to go with Zach Moss at 320.
What happened over there?
I have Singletary. I don't want Moss to be good at all.
Is this the Raiders? Or is Dan Moore running this team?
I don't know. He must have made some moves, made some movers and shakers. I'll have to check that out.
I've said with only 3 picks. They had a lot of picks here, actually.
But I do like Zach Moss a lot.
Right,
yeah, I do like Zach Moss a lot in the 3rd round. A 4th round pick for Mitch Wishnowski. That's too high for a punter. Come on now. I don't care how good.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. It's only 3 picks. I'll pass on this one. There's no one that I really like a lot. I went a lot. I'm not a big Zach Moss fan.
My grouping.
All right. On to Miami. Michael, you didn't have anybody for Vegas, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No,
on to Miami.
I think Moss would be fine.
Okay. Highsmith, Dillon, Charlton, Kaiser, Fulham in the 10th. I mean, he's not good. I don't think he's even on a roster, but he has a decent card for a 10th round receiver. I'll take him as my star pick.
See, this is like a group. This is like a group. Maybe part of the problem with me when I'm passing on some of these teams is because I did not do the research on all the guys in the deep weeds.
I like Ahmed a lot. I think he's going to split carries this year with Gaskin. That's a good pick.
I like AJ Dillon.
Yeah, Dillon. If something happens to Jones, or even if not, because the other backup is
playing time and he looks pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'll go for AJ Dillon too. I really didn't scout him that thoroughly, but I read some decent things. A lot of people liked him last year. He was a second-round pick, and he's going to get some carries. And Nathan's telling me he looks good. That's good enough for me.
All right, we're on to Minnesota, and I got to go with my boy Marquez Callaway is the right way to say it. In the 5th round, he could be a potential number 1 receiver. I mean, there's not much in New Orleans. If Michael Thomas gets traded or dumped after he comes back from his injury, or just has a falling out and just doesn't play well, he could be the man.
This is a very good draft. I really like his first 4 picks. They only have 1 pick around, another early in the round. But Joe Burrow, I mean, you're drafting third, you need a quarterback. Why not take Joe Burrow, right? Jalen Johnson, I really like a lot. I had him as a number 2 corner in this class. Edward Cleveland's supposed to be very solid left guard. You get him in the 3rd round. He's also 4-5 for the year. I like Malik Harrison. Malik Harrison, the early 4th round, that's like a steal to me. I'll probably give him the because Jalen Johnson kind of went where he's supposed to go. So I'll give Malik Harrison the value guy, the start, whatever.
Nice. All right, Nathan, Michael, what do you guys want?
I did like Callaway a lot, but I want Burrow for picking 3rd. It was unexpected, and he definitely made the right choice. I mean, that's a deal, even though it's 1 spot from where you thought it would go.
Well, you said he made the right choice. Who else are you going to pick there?
What's that?
You said he made the right choice. Who else are you going to pick there once Burrow was there?
Well, he has Kirk Cousins. He might have decided that he's just
I got you. Yeah.
Draft Jonathan Taylor or
it's a good point.
Jefferson. He's a Viking fan, I think, isn't he? Is that Minnesota?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Oh, I mean, there was a couple guys that he possibly could have gone with. Although I think he might have receivers already.
I forgot you were saying. I understand what you're saying that he already has Cousins. So maybe I'll trade for Cousins next year.
Michael, you got a favorite pick here? All right, we'll move on. Sounds like Michael's. Did he drop out? Yeah, he's back. Oh, there he is.
Good value for Cleveland there. Good value for Cleveland. Ezra.
There you go.
Ezra Cleveland.
All right, so the Gents. First overall, got his man. Got Trayvon Diggs in the 2nd. T. Higgins later on in the 2nd. Javon Kinlaw in the 3rd. I like this draft a lot. Cameron Curl, that's going to be my favorite. 4th round pick on a good defense, playing a premium position, free safety. I like that.
I like Uche.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I would go with Uche also. I know Michael likes. We try to take him in order to win, but we got screwed by the Highsmith hijinks. This is an interesting class to me because like Joe's rebuilding, right? But like the guys that outside of Herbert and Jordan Fuller and Uche and Curl, there's some guys that where he took them, I just didn't like that guy there. Like Diggs at 26 and Higgins at 19 over some of the other guys. Kinlaw's got some injury problems. So I'll go with Uche, even though he's not starting. I've heard really good things about him, and it just seems like he's that guy where you get nothing now, and you might get an awful lot like next year. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, right.
Michael,
I agree. I mean, I couldn't pick that guy out of a lineup. I wouldn't even know what that guy looks like, but everything I read about him seems to think he's the second coming. So I guess him.
Nice. All right, we got our Jets on the line.
Jets.
God, I love Jordan Brooks, and I didn't get him in any league except for my SFFPL.
I've been meaning to ask you what you thought about him as the resident Seahawk guy. Please go ahead.
He traded for Metcalf after the draft. He wanted DK for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I offered Nathan Tyreek Hill for DK Metcalf.
And I hope Nathan said no.
He did.
I wouldn't trade Metcalf for any receiver.
What if Tyreek was a foot taller?
If he was, well, I don't
Then
mind
you-
him being what he is, but I just
If he's
think
a-
Metcalf's
the problem is if he's a foot taller, then you have DK Metcalf.
You saw when I tried
There
to
you go.
trade you for Tyreek Hill a couple of years ago.
Yes,
Jordan's,
I'm glad I
Definitely.
beat it too. I know. You like. Well, I don't blame you. I wouldn't trade Metcalf either. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I totally don't blame him. I mean, that's the thing is that right now,
Well, if you don't ask, you don't know.
Tyreek Hill,
That's
Tyreek
right.
Hill has a better card. He has a double team receptions, but I think all those things will come to DK in the future. So, I get it.
Hey, look, look, Dennis thinks out of the box with his trades. He is very aggressive working the trades as a general manager. And look, you don't know unless you do it. So, like you said, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about Jordan Brooks. I'm curious because I took him in AW also, Dennis.
So he's going to be the one that is going to be a 4.5, 4.6. He's going to be better with the run rating initially. He needs to tighten up his coverage, but I think he has the speed. His pursuit sideline to sideline is fantastic. He has the speed that once he learns the technique, I think he'll be like a KJ Wright. You know, this is your KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner as a rookie kind of pick. And he'll have to grow into it, but I think he's going to be a really good player.
You like him, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, I also like some of the other picks you got. Cushenberry in the third is good. Dotson in the fourth is good. Vaughn in the fifth is good. But I'll go with Jordan Brooks as my favorite pick. I think he could have easily been a top of the second round into the first round type guy. If Strat would have gave him a better rating, then I don't think he would have lasted this long.
I like Kevin Dotson for fourth round. I like that pick a lot.
Nice, Michael.
I love that Jordan Brooks pick. Absolutely.
And Tom, who's your favorite of your own draft class?
Well, I'm hoping that Zach Bourne does something eventually. But I really, really, really wanted Cesar Ruiz. Michael broke my heart in order to win. I got screwed on the Highsmith Uchi thing because Michael wanted Uchi and the whole thing got messed up. And then I got to take someone else who took Cesar Ruiz. But my team, I want to run the ball since obviously Nathan and I tried to build a passing first team. It failed. And the coaching was an issue. I want to run the ball nowadays, be more balanced, and I want a good offensive line. My team last year made the semifinals first in a long time, playing in more of a run first style, even with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Ruiz was terrible as a rookie, awful. But everything I read was that he played center in college, and he had the weird offseason last year with COVID, and he was a little banged up during the year. Well, like Jedrick Wills, everything I've read about this guy this offseason has been glowing. Oh, he's stronger. He looks great. He's taking the right guard. It's become more natural. He's going to be. So to me, it's like he's like the next automatic 5'7" plus on the Saints line. I wish Drew Brees was still there, but it's like I know he's only a guard, Nathan. But it's just like I really wanted this guy because it seemed like such a sure thing. And it's like I already have Deion Dawkins, who's now become pretty good, and to get Wills and Ruiz, it's like, well, how much more do I need to have a good future line? So I really was. It's funny because he's just a guard. I was so excited to get him. I really wanted him, so I was really glad about that pick.
Mm-hmm.
Good. You can trade me Dotson next year.
Dotson played another guard. I needed two. I had David DeCastro and nobody, Billy Turner. So I needed two guards. So.
You'll draft one next year.
Say what?
All right.
You draft one next year.
Oh yeah, you know I'll draft next year, right?
Guard.
Yeah, I said who I'll draft next year, right?
Receiver. Oh, I don't know.
Vera Tucker, the Jets took a guard, 14 overall.
Oh yeah, that's right. The USC guy, Elijah Vera Tucker. All right. So on to the Steelers. So any picks here that you think were a steal for the team from Pittsburgh?
Donald Parham in the 8th.
Yeah, that's a nice potential impact tight end, backing up in the Chargers with Justin Herbert there.
Cook behind is all that's in front of him, I think.
Yeah.
As much as I would love to say Sterling Hofrichter, just so we can say his name a bunch of times. I kind of like. I know it's 6th round. There's 8th round. I kind of like this Anthony Jennings selection. This guy's out for the year, but he's a 3rd round pick. He's an inside linebacker for the Patriots. I don't really know much about him, but I like the idea that you can get a guy in the second half of the draft who maybe could be a future starter at a decent position, but you got to sit on him for a year. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the player he got when he moved down to get Michael Walker.
There you go. That comes around. That could pay off for him big time later on. I'm going to pick Nasir Adderley because I picked him too in strat 28.
I thought it was second round first of all. Yeah, late third round. Good.
Yeah. So I mean, do you guys think he's going to be a decent starter for the Chargers at free safety next to Jerwin James?
Yeah, I
on him.
Good, Nathan.
Oh, he was like one of the guys I very late kind of looked at, and I had him moving up quite a bit because I had read a lot of good things about him, and it's a good defense. So I think it's gonna be a good team. They're a great defensive coach. So
right. That's all.
Yeah, I forgot about the coach being a great defensive coach, and of course he got a lot of his safeties in LA. Staley. I like Adelaide. I think he's all right. Maybe like more of a perennial 4 type from a naked eye work, but again, the other guy who like missed a year with injury, and you maybe you're getting him a little more cheaply because of that. So yeah, I didn't realize it was late third round. I thought it was second when I first looked here. So, but yeah, I like that.
Michael, what you got? Do we drop him off and have him in again? Oh, here we are. Michael keeps leaving.
He's Googling Sterling Richter.
My screen was stuck. He doesn't have, he just had a first and a second, and he drifts off into the 6th. I read good things about that New England linebacker. I know he's going to be out for the year that Anthony jetting, so he's basically going to shelve him. But New England has this habit of turning these linebackers into gold. He'll have to just sit on him for a while. So
yeah, Belichick puts him in the right spot.
Mm-hmm. And then he gets a
All
Hall of Fame in the 7th round, yes.
All right, so here's my team.
Marcus Allen.
Easy pick.
Marcus Allen.
Pittsburgh is taking a Hall of Fame in the 7th round. Marcus Allen. Good.
Yes. All right, so I'll pick my own favorite guy. That's got to be Lamb, first round. Can't believe he slipped.
Put me down for that.
I'll go for
Jonathan Abrams since he's on your team now.
I certainly like C. Lamb at number 23, but I have to go with Jonathan Abrams, Dennis.
Yeah.
514. That was a good pick.
Right away, if you don't know, I sent him to Tom along with my third next year for Bradley Roby. So
what was interesting was that Dennis had offered me his 3 next year and his 5 this year for Roby, and I said no. And then Dennis, I wanted the 2. I said I want the best. I don't want the best thing I'm getting to be a late 3 next year. This was like early in the 4th round, so I didn't know it was going to be in the middle of the 5th round. And it wasn't like I was really thrilled with the prospects that I'm going to be there. I don't want my best thing to be like 3.23 next year, whatever the hell. 3.24, Dennis, make it easy for you. And so then Dennis had to leave. So where did you have to go, Dennis? Dennis had to leave the draft in the 5th round, right?
I had to help my wife do some little honeydews around the house. So I gave a list to Zeb.
You probably took all these trophies out of the room or something that she needed more space.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So he leaves the draft in the 5th round, and Zed takes Abram for him. And I was like, man, I was trying to trade up into the early 5th round to get Abram. He's probably the guy I would have taken, Michael, with the pick I had to give you in the Fatukasi deal after the TFC overturned the first version of that deal. So then, I was like, okay, well, he took Abram in the 5th round, mid-5th round. Maybe if I offer him Roby for Abram in the 3 next year, he'll go for it. And at first he said no, he wanted he wanted a 4 instead of something. I forgot what happened. But I offered him an 8, and he wanted a 7, and he settled for the 8. And so maybe that's how that all happened. But Abram's interesting to me because in the middle of the 5th round, he's a really great athlete. I do not do well, Nathan, with projecting the safeties. I think there's some positions I do well. There's some positions I struggle. Safeties I've not done well, and he's a great athlete. But it seems like he thinks it's like 1971. Like all he wants to do is lay big hits on a running back, and he comes running in for 20 yards away to the guy. But you got to play the rest of the game, bro. You got to play. He's gonna probably lead the league in ejection or something. But it's a middle of the 5th round. He's a great athlete, and I finally read a good comment on him from I think Vic Taford, a longtime Raider, local paper guy out there, and that was on The Athletic. So it's all right. Well, if he's telling me good things, like to me, like the Raiders, like I don't think their defense is good. Okay. But from what I was reading, like that guy Vic Taford was like, no, I think the defense will be pretty good for these reasons. And they all like the free safety, the rookie Trevor Mooring. And the Bruce Abram was playing good too, so I don't know. So let's see what happens. I need another safety. I mean, if Abram came through in any way, it would be helpful to me. But even though it's Dennis's picks, I like the Abram pick, and of course, I like the Lamb pick. I would pick Abram because it's 5th round. I like Lamb. I know he's going to be a first rounder. We're going on the value thing. So anyway, good. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Michael, anybody you like?
Just a couple things. Lamb, to get him at 23, that's fantastic. I'm really glad for you that he put that far. But just for fun, that pick that you made in the 8th round, Cannon, I saw where Baltimore basically is auditioning for literally any running back who has 2 legs and both ACLs intact. So he's going to get some carries this year, so that could be a gift for you.
Yeah, he has the number 6 kick return card in the set, and he has on his 2 instead of a touchdown, it has plus 98 because he got tackled from behind. So you don't get hit by that white die, 1 out of 6 chance where it turns into a long gain. So I went with him over Isaiah Rodgers, and that's the pick I got from Tom. So if he gets a handful of carries, if he gets 50 carries, I'll be ecstatic. So we'll see what happens. He's the 3rd banana there right now, though.
Since Lamb was my pick, but I really did like that you chose Mariner in your Seattle, so that I could burn all the Mariner fans.
Nice, that was a good one. I feel bad for them. I mean, they originally
live with them. They're all around me. I feel bad too.
They're just miserable. I'm part of Seahawks Twitter, which makes me part of Mariner Twitter.
Yeah,
so I get that stuff.
That you know about the Mariners.
Yeah. On to the Niners. So who's your favorite pick here?
I like Onwenu in the 2nd round.
Yeah, that's a big boy too. He's going to be a strong. You get those guys, and they're just part of your team for 10 years straight. Like Tom was saying, you had to rebuild this whole line. If you make the right calls and you get the right guys, you don't have to worry about it each year.
Yeah, I guess I'll go with Onwenu too. I mean, that's really nice to. Knowing Eddie probably has a good left tackle. You get Wirfs and Onwenu. Like you said, Onwenu, I know he was only a 6th round pick, but he played so well as a rookie in 900 snaps. Like some of these guys that didn't have the snaps. When a guy puts up numbers like that in all those snaps, and then it's an organization like the Patriots are like, okay, this guy's probably pretty good. I don't care if he's drafted the 6th round anymore,
Yeah. Michael? I'm going to go with Leki Fotu. I don't really know much about him, but he was the last pick on day 1 autumn win by Mark Lepage, and then Ed picks him in the 7th round. That's a guy I'm going to go do some more research on. I know he's like a backup defensive lineman, defensive end.
Backup nose tackle, I think in Arizona.
Okay, very good. So that could be.
You're going with the GM pedigree.
Yes, exactly. Like these guys know what they're doing. Let's maybe do a little more research.
I got to do some research for my 6.1 pick in autumn wind.
Nice.
Trade down.
You're going to have some good film tomorrow to go watch.
So Nathan's so sneaky. He was asking for my autumn win by 6 next year. I'm like, come on, Nathan. I know that my team is no good. Don't be asking for mine. We were talking about some type of deal. I don't know what it was. What?
I don't talk to you at all. I don't think.
Well, you maybe it was Ed Carpenter. Ed Carpenter's sneaky.
I'm not sneaky like that. I leave people's. I usually leave people's 6s out of it. The only reason I got this one is because I gave a boatload to get the guy.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. It's probably
Some RJ P. Ryan, by the way, that 6th round pick. He is the exclusive backup for Mixon this year, assuming that he's healthy. So that could be a nice little gift. Maybe get some carries.
There you go.
Yeah, those sneaky 50 plus guys. Nice.
Ed Carpenter has a history of making offers to me that are aggressively favorable in his direction.
Yeah,
and
he's one of the most biggest abusers of the NFL trade chart too.
Oh yeah.
He's like, okay, well, this adds up to this and this adds up to that, And you're like, dude, I'm not giving you 5 picks for.
I will say he was offering those in the opposite direction, trying to move up though.
So,
It's not like you might think. When he was trying to move back into the first round at pick 129, he was offering me, and I was like, yeah, I'd probably do that. I mean, because I like the play. I probably got my guy where I was moving to anyway.
I tell you one, the guy's an excellent drafter.
Yeah.
So that team is going to show up in a big way sooner or later.
So
I take it back.
But in those situations, because I think maybe Mark is that way as well. You can trade with those guys the opposite way, and they'll go with it. And if you would rather have the quantity, lots of times they'll do it if they think that the numbers shake out their way.
Fair enough.
My first transaction with Ed Carpenter, I get along with him now, and he's probably listening anyway. And Ed, don't go to it if you are. It's Ed Carpenter, I feel like, but was when I had Ryan Shazier. I drafted Ryan Shazier, like in the second round, right? And like the next year, he was like a 0-0, okay? And because he took him a couple years to get going. And I had like I had like 3 inside linebackers. We were all like, it was like Shazier, Deion Buchanan, and the other guy was some like kind of veteran bum, you know? And his email is like, oh, hey, listen, I see you've got a glut of inside linebackers. I figure maybe I can take Ryan Shazier off your hands. Yeah, he's like, I can give you like a late 3rd round pick, you know? I'm like, dude, I drafted a guy like 31 last year. You know what I'm saying? I really like him a lot, you know? And so we had a couple of emails like that. We made offers, and I told him, I said, listen, I just told him, I said, Ed, stop trying to rip me off. I told that email, I said, just stop trying to rip me off. If you want to make an offer, but stop trying to rip me off. And this year he's offering like a super late 2 for like Matt Milano. I'm like, there's like no linebacker 5s of that. I'm not going to give you Matt Milano for a super late 2. Anyway, I like it. I like Ed, and I get along with him, and he's a really good GM, but he's a little aggressive with the trade offers.
I hear you. Okay, on to Tampa Bay. We got 2 more teams left. I got to wrap this up. Who do you like? Oh, who do you like from this group? Brown, Ruggs, Terrence Mitchell. All good guys there.
God, he got value with all of those. I think. I mean, I think the instant answer is Derek Brown for me.
All right.
It's hard not to go with Derek Brown. I mean, number 24. He's going to be, to me. I mean, he looks so dominant in his tape. I think the rap against him in college was didn't always play every down. That the motor wasn't always on all the time. But I've read really good things about him in camp. The Carolina Riders love what he's doing this year. I think he's like that next like super stud interior defensive tackle that just be like penciled in as a 6 for God knows how long.
Fair enough. Nathan?
It's just kind of reminds me of when everyone was drafting Geno Atkins in the same spot in all the spring leagues after his rookie year, where everyone's like, "Oh, he's gonna be a stud," and then he just keeps going like at 20 to 25 or whatever.
All right, I'll switch it up and go with I will go with Carl Granderson, where he got him in the 10th. That's a pretty good pick.
Yeah.
But Dennis, what about one of your personal favorites?
Corn Elder.
Yes, Corn Elder.
I love Corn Elder. There was a game the Seahawks really shouldn't have won, but they went for it on 4th and desperation, and instead 4th and 5 or something, 7 or 12 or something like that. But they went deep, and it was Russell Wilson to no, it wasn't Lockett. It was to one of the Ricardo Lockett, one of the backup guys, beats Corn Elder. Boom, touchdown.
Defender X. Tim did have one mistake in his write-up. It said that Alex Singleton was starting at Pittsburgh, where they do. Or is he from the University of Pittsburgh? I don't know. He's right, man. It's like he was playing for the Steelers. He was playing for the Eagles, though. Either way, but Derek Brown's a guy for me.
All right, last team, the Tennessee Titans. Talked about Harris. We talked about Okuda. We talked about Jonah Williams.
Oh, this is Mick.
Yeah, this is Mick.
So when I was bad mouthing that Detroit pick, I was thinking to Bradley. I was bad mouthing Bradley Miller. Oh, hey Bradley. Well, Bradley's the only one that told me that I should just speak openly, so I think we're gonna go okay. But he always reminds me of it when we have to play. But that's why we get along well. Tennessee,
I'm gonna go with Jordan Mailata. I think that's a great spot to get him.
Yeah.
He's a stud, big boy, big contract. He came late to the game of football, so he doesn't have those kind of lingering injuries, I wouldn't think. He played rugby before that, but I don't know. I like him. It seems like he's going to be a good fit for a long time.
Yeah, I've read a lot of great things about a lot of this. Is an interesting group here because there's some players I really like and some other players like. We'll see. Yeah, Milata's one that jumps out at me as an early 4th round pick. That's going to be a steal. Matt Hennessy is a very solid pick. Late 4.22, late 4th round. You're getting a starting center who was supposed to be pretty decent from what I've read. I like that pick a lot. I'm not the big on the Jordan Williams pick. It's an interesting draft class. Interesting. And Jordan Elliott's supposed to be pretty good. 6'11". I think he's in that top 25 list that we all look at. But yeah, I would go Milano also, Dennis, with Hennessy as the second choice. But some interesting picks there. Some real good picks and some other ones that fell a little early.
All right. Michael? Oh, I think I muted you because you were giving me feedback. Now I want your feedback, so you're unmuted.
Lots of coin flips there, 1, 2, and 3. But I agree with Tom. I like that Hennessy pick a great deal. That's good value there. About the 100th pick in the draft to get a starter.
And Nathan, did I put you down as Melata, or do you have a different pick?
No, for where he's picking, I kind of like the Hamler, and I like Aura. I mean, both those guys could be something pretty decent, and for next to nothing really.
5 and 8.
Nice, very cool. Well,
And
guys,
I'm kind of rooting for Jeff Okuda to make it because he's been so buried, and we're like no one likes him. I'm kind of rooting for him now. Come on, Jeff.
Get it together, Jeff. We're pulling for you. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. Any last words before we say goodbye? And
thank you for hosting, Dennis. It was much easier for me not to have to host. I could recline and stuff. It's always good to have multiple people on here. Michael bringing a lot of information nowadays. Now he's stepped up his drafting big time since starting with last year. So yeah, it was good. It was a very, very good show. I wonder sometimes if when I talk too fast, am I mumbling incoherently?
No,
not at the moment.
No, I'm mumbling coherently.
Yes, it's fine. There were a couple times where you were garbled, but I think that was the internet connection, and it quickly cleared up.
I think I heard a cookie in there somewhere too.
So what?
I heard a cookie in there somewhere too.
Yeah, well, I was exaggerating the cookie at times, but
Well, it sounded delicious. What was it? What type of cookie? Chocolate chip?
We have over here what I call bakery cookies, okay, which is there's local like mom and pop bakeries, right? They're usually Italian, okay? I live in Queens, and they make a certain type of cookie that is just heavy on the butter, okay? So they make all different kinds of cookies, but they all the cookie part always tastes kind of the same. And it's always good. So I had a couple of rainbow sprinkle cookies, and then I think I had a pecan syrup cookie, but it was very light in the syrup. So it wasn't like a pecan pie can be you can feel the cavities coming as you're biting into pecan pie. It's not like that syrupy, okay? But the cookie part was really good. It's a bakery cookie does. Bakery cookies.
No.
Did I search the wrong thing? It's really Italian.
You gotta get a peanut butter cookie with a little bit of a chocolate dip on it. My wife makes some awesome ones.
Nice.
Sure.
Just give me the straight peanut butter. I just like the straight peanut butter. So.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of
all right.
Too much.
That's what I need to do. I need to go get let's go get a goddamn snack. Thanks.
I like the line in the movie. There's something about Mary when Chris Elliott is telling his wife to make the Toll House cookies, and when Ben Stiller comes over. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, with the something got in her hair thing.
No, not that scene. No, not that scene. This is a family show. Michael's in the choir, Dennis. What are you bringing that up for? I've seen. And there's something about Mary. He goes to visit Chris Elliott, and Chris Elliott's hanging out with his wife there. And then Ben Stiller is like, "Oh, that'd be nice. I'd like to have a wife." And Chris Elliott's harassing his wife to make Toll House cookies because Ben Stiller's there. I don't know. I like that scene, but I'm the only one.
I'll check it out. It's not
all that, Dennis. Stick with
Okay,
Doctor
sounds
Strangelove.
good.
I'll give you the good recommendation, Dennis, like I did with Doctor Strangelove. That was a good one.
I love that one. That was great.
Yes.
Okay, so that will wrap it up there. Thank you for joining us. For Nathan, Michael, and for Cookie, we say thank you, and we'll see you guys on the next show. Maybe a SOMIFA season preview show.
Sounds good.
See what happens.
I thought we were retired from the season preview business after all of our. All we do is piss people off and get half their predictions wrong.
What's wrong with that? What do you think the draft should have?
Give the people what they want.
I don't get half the predictions wrong in the draft show. I'm a little better than that.
You know how many guys I see become studs that I was like, I don't like him at all. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys, I'm gonna shut it down.
See
What
you
the hell kind of? What the hell kind of?
Stay safe.
What the hell kind of icon does Michael have?
It's
What's
like
that?
it's like a Simpsons character
That's
playing the accordion.
It's Weird Al Yankovic.
It looks like
Oh,
what's that stupid show on Netflix? My niece is watched Big Mouth. It looks like the guy from Big Mouth.
Big Mouth.
All right.
Yeah, it does look like that.
All right. Dennis clearly wants to go.
I do. I want a cookie. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
No D&D,
Bye-bye.
Dennis?
Bye.